Hi, this is Mark Meir, the voice of Commander Shepard, and you're tuned in to the EnteR ChazmaN podcast, my favorite podcast on the Citadel. ChazmaN and Phoenix, let the conversations begin. To the Normandy.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the EnteR ChazmaN podcast, where, as always, this is your place to hear about all of the nerdy video game news and other things that have kind of piqued me and my buddy Phoenix's interest throughout the last, I would say, week, but what is this, 2 or 3 weeks since we've been back?
Yeah, you've been out frolicking in the woods for the past, week and a half, so I've just been in the basement, tidying things up. I've hung some shelves, some new decor, so...
Oh, interesting. Since I've been over or after that?
I'm talking about your basement. Remember, that's the whole joke. Man, you're ruining our running joke, Chaz.
I totally missed it.
Oh.
Well, I'm gonna have to remove those at some point. The whole point of it was for it to feel terrible, not more pleasant.
Oh, fair enough.
I'll have to start filling it up with water and, I don't know, crocodiles. I don't know, what else would I put down there?
This needs to be like the basement in Home Alone with the furnace that turns into a monster. That'd be great.
Don't remember that. That happens in Home Alone?
It doesn't straight turn into a monster, but that's like his fear every time he goes down. He's worried the furnace is gonna eat him alive or something.
Dude, I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid, so I should probably watch it again.
Mm-hmm. Christmas.
Maybe if people in chat remind me, I'll watch it again this Christmas.
Hey, July's coming up. Christmas in July, so you could watch it tomorrow. So.
No. Actually, I made plans to watch Home Alone 4 instead, so.
Oh, no.
I think there's been 4 or 5 of them at this point, so.
They just did a new one, this past year or something. Yeah, so. It was almost a Netflix special or Disney special, and I did not hear good things about it. But.
They actually, Red Letter Media, another YouTube channel, they actually brought on Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, really?
And, on one of the episodes, he actually reviewed, and they talked about one of the newer movies that came out, and I don't know, it's really funny to see him kind of up there talking about. There's one joke where they were ripping up the kid for being a bad child actor, and he's just like, what do you mean? Are you saying children can't be good actors or something? It's pretty hilarious.
I'm sure we'll have something to say about child actors when we start talking about Obi-Wan here in a little bit, so we can leave our conversation for then.
But yeah, I guess Phoenix just kind of gave it away, but that'll be one of our topics. So I guess just overall what we were going to talk about this week. We did play a new game. We're going to go right into that just here in a second. And then, of course, Obi-Wan. There was just the Nintendo Direct Mini, which was... What was that? Monday? Tuesday. That was Tuesday. I'm already forgetting what happened coming back from vacation. Forgetting what day was what. And then we are kind of behind, but I did want to at least, for the sake of the channel, was to get our kind of opinions on the Xbox and Bethesda showcase that happened, 2 weeks ago now?
I'm sure this was holding back the channel, Chaz. Your 3 fans are just been dying. They haven't looked at any of the news about the Bethesda content. They're just waiting for your opinion. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, everyone at work, they're all waiting. But so actually, just before I went on vacation, Phoenix decided to host an event before a new game that had just come out. And so, did you want to tell people what we got to play, Phoenix?
Sure. So we hopped into TMNT Shredder's Revenge, which was a good time, I think. What do you think of it?
I'll use one of my patented words recently that everyone who watches the channel, I'm sure, knows. It was very homage-y.
Homage-y.
Although I guess you could call it a homage, seeing as how it was homage-ing it's a game previously from the IP or games. But it felt fun, but it felt also very basic in a way. One of Phoenix's, I don't know if you guys know, but one of Phoenix's favorite games ever is what was it, Turtles in Time?
Yeah,
which
Turtles
for
in Time.
multiple systems in the 90s. And it felt like a better looking, more modern take on that, but it also, in my opinion, felt a little stripped away, if that makes any sense. I actually, from what I remember playing, I think I enjoyed playing Turtles in Time a bit more than this one.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how much of those older Turtles arcade games did you play?
There's
Like,
not many. I remember playing Turtles in Time, and there might have been there was another one on I think the Genesis that I played.
yeah,
It's in that
you had Hyperstone Heist, which is the one, the
that's probably the
Genesis.
one I played.
Yeah, and then there was like Turtles the arcade game. And those are probably like the big three that people kind of like to call back to. So what do you feel like was stripped down from the older versions?
Um. Oh shit! You put me on the spot. I gotta back up my.
Hey, you
my
have an opinion. You have to have to reinforce it.
It could very well just be that I was very young playing some of those games, and maybe they felt more grand. I mean, this, in my opinion, felt a bit basic. I mean, I felt like you couldn't. There was no like interacting with other objects. That opinion also could be affected by having played something like Scott Pilgrim, where I feel like that's a very similar game type and delivered some very similar experiences. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a hard time now, kind of backing up what I said.
I feel like, at least from a gameplay perspective, it's probably as good, probably better, at least from a mechanical standpoint. Like, as far as like interactivity, those old games were never known for you being able to do too much with the environments. Like, you could kick a pylon, you could fall in manholes, and you could still do that in this game. So I mean, that held up for the most part as far as that level of interactivity.
I don't remember. Was there more than just a quick attack and then a special? Because I feel like that's all we had in this game, right? There was like one attack.
You had far more combat options in this new game than you did in the old one. Like,
I was drinking when I played this. I don't know.
That's not an excuse. No, you could do more combat in this one. Like, you had like your special moves. You had more kind of throws you could do. Like, the combat was definitely expanded. I'm not gonna say it was like super evolved or anything, but you could definitely do more in this newer game than you could in the old one. I'm not saying that makes the game better, but from a combat standpoint, you could do just as much as you could before and then some. So I feel like from at least a technical standpoint, this game is probably as good as the older games. I think where it lost me was, at least in the first half of the game, I don't know if it's just the theming, or I felt like it was kind of dragging its wheels for a while, especially if I compare it to Turtles in Time. I felt like Turtles in Time, for those who have played that a lot, it moved pretty quickly through different environments. Like, you had the skyscraper level at the beginning, for those who recall that. Then you had a city kind of street level. Then you were in the sewer. And then almost just after that, you were already like in the Technodrome. Then they're sending you back in time. And I feel like the theming changed a lot. This game, like, it felt almost padded, like the first half of it. You had a lot of just kind of standard city building levels before we got to anything overly interesting.
Which is kind of an odd critique, considering, I mean, we beat the game in what, 2.5, 3 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It was never a long game, but Turtles in Time was never a long game either. Remember, it was an arcade game, so I mean, it had to be something that was reasonable to beat in a somewhat sit down setting.
No.
I think what I didn't like, though, is beyond just the environment is not changing very often. I feel like we didn't get a whole lot of enemy variety for a long time in that game. I mean, it was all just standard foot soldier fare for a while, and then eventually, as you start getting to a few of I'm trying to remember some of the unique or more unique levels in this game. But I feel like even those enemies were all throwbacks to the old enemies.
When you got to the lair, or what was it? When you get to like Krang's, like when you get to the futuristic areas, I feel like there were some, although it was some of the same enemies from like the TV show. Like, wasn't it like the little pincher?
Yeah, and that was in Turtles in Time and those older games. I mean, that was all about the same. They had, I think, I'm looking at your B-roll now, so they had like a larger pincer robot, but I don't know. I felt the enemy variety lacked a little bit. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. I enjoyed playing through it. This by no means dethrones Turtles in Time to me. It was a nice kind of throwback for nostalgia, but I don't feel like it was as memorable or necessarily a better game. The music too didn't hit for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, I remember when we were all playing together, that was one of our biggest like critiques, is that the music just wasn't slapping. There was no bangers. It was just like,
it's not that it was terrible. I think it was a fact they kind of mixed the chip tune with like standard kind of like rock vibes, but something about it didn't quite hit right. Like, I missed just the pure like chip tunes from the older ones.
I feel like if they would have found a way to throw some sort of like bit filter onto it, maybe it would have sounded better. But it all felt too clean.
Well, they
If
had
that
chip
sounds...
tunes in it. I mean, when I say chip tune, I do mean 8-bit music. And like they had that mixed into some of the tracks. It just, I don't know, it didn't. I don't know. I don't want to say it sounded too clean. That might be the wrong word, at least in my opinion.
That's what I just said. Yeah, I thought it sounded too clean.
Well, I'm not sure if it does sound too clean. I don't know if I describe it that way.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound like the thing about chiptunes is they were usually really simplistic melodies that were catchy, and they were simplified because the technology was simpler at that time. Not that you couldn't do more orchestrated pieces, but they were made to be kind of simplistic, catchy tunes that they could repeat over and over and over again. I think the fact that they use these as like track-like structures and there's just more instrumentation, to me, kind of lost some of the character to it. So the music didn't quite hit as hard to me. The gameplay I thought was fine. I did like that you could have, 6 players instead of just, I'm trying to recall, I think on the SNES you could only have 2. Because, Super Nintendo only had 2, so unless you're doing like the actual arcade machine or something, you were limited on controllers. So I definitely think from that standpoint of having more people play, that was great. But I don't know. It was a nice callback. I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm glad it exists. The older games are still better, though. I'll die on that hill. If you
I'll play them again, man. It's been a little bit since I played them. Like they were never games I played a heck of a whole lot of, but I definitely remember. I think most of the time when I played them, it was probably over at one of your places or something. Honestly, I think I did play Turtles in Time on an arcade machine, like when I was like real little. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it was fun. It was definitely. I'm tempted to say I want to go back and play through it simply because we were all at your place and we're all on your profile, so you got like every achievement. And I definitely want to play through it again, at least on mine, and kind of unlock some of that stuff. But I don't know. It's really hard for me not to compare the game to something like, I mean, a game we both love is Scott Pilgrim. And I feel like that was one of the better kind of beat 'em up side scrollers. But I will also say you did point out while we were hanging out that even that one it's not a perfect side scroller beat 'em up. There are better ones. Yeah. That one just purely nostalgia purposes. That one for me is one of the more probably my most memorable one.
Here's the thing. I mean, I love Scott Pilgrim just as a IP in general, but the Scott Pilgrim game was good. It was not great. I thought it was too long. Some of the combat was a little wonky too. Like he didn't always hit right. I mean, I liked the RPG elements to that one, and it definitely had some fun moments, that pulled from, the lore and the canon and, just the general story. So, I mean, I enjoy Scott Pilgrim for what it is. I don't think it is, like, the best beat 'em up, or even probably in the top, like, 5.
I think what really... Oh, sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. But I think, like, what really benefited, and like you were saying, this game didn't feel as memorable. I think, for me, honestly, what made Scott Pilgrim so incredibly memorable is the soundtrack. Like the soundtrack, like I literally, like without playing the game, sometimes every now and then I will like on on iTunes or something or on YouTube. That
was the Anamanaguchi stuff, right?
Anamanaguchi, yeah, and I will just straight up just listen to that without playing the game. I feel like a soundtrack can go a big way, and I agree with you. Like
it was the character of that game, like just like the style, the feel, the aesthetic. Like that's what made Scott Pilgrim memorable. Beyond just all the other hullabaloo about that game, for being delisted for a while and all that kind of stuff. This game it's a fun Turtles throwback, and if you're a Turtles fan, you're gonna enjoy it. But on its own, it doesn't have that magic. There's not a whole lot of nostalgic appeal to this game because it's a new game, it's a modern game. It just doesn't have that same character to it.
This game doesn't replace Turtles in Time or anything.
No.
I think that's kind of the problem, is that like if we're gonna experience it, like if we go when we hang out next time, I'm probably would rather play Turtles in Time.
Well, once again, here's the benefit. Like if we say that was the case, yeah. So this does have the benefit of you can get more people involved in it, and I do think if you're just wanting to play some Turtles, you're not necessarily caring about what you're doing with it. You just want to vibe out a little bit, have some nostalgia, and play with a group of friends. This is still probably the better choice. But if you want to play the better game, yeah, Turtles in Time. But yes, then you're going to be limited by how many people can play. The combat is more limited, although I think for the time it was perfectly fine. But I don't know. That's all I really have to say. I don't want to drag it out too long. This was a fun game. If you're interested in it, it's on Game Pass. So, I mean, definitely check it out if you got Game Pass. And I'll tell you, if you are into physical collecting, the limited run, which I think we showed off a few weeks ago.
Dang it. I was going to touch on that.
Is awesome. The whole VHS casing. So if you are someone who's into that, I would say it might be worth it for that, reason alone, just because it'd be a really cool shelf piece. But it's fun for what it is. I'm glad it exists. But if you're a fan of Turtles, definitely go back and play the old ones if you haven't ever had a chance to.
So, not to toot my own horn, but I ordered one just the other day, so I'll show it off whenever it comes in. I got the $60 version, 70. I did do the VHS version.
Yeah, the same one I got. We won't see it for like half a year, so
No, probably not.
probably along with that. I'm still waiting on my my vinyl for Scott Pilgrim, because I got the whole soundtrack on
you
vinyl.
never got that?
No, it's not here yet.
Wow.
I saw not a shipping thing, a email about it potentially being ready like a month ago, but who knows? Yeah, it'll get here one day.
Luckily, I'm all caught up. I just want to get my my free Pizza Hut pizza card. That's the most important aspect of the game, of the limited edition. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hate to repeat, but I thought it was fun. It's definitely worth a playthrough, like you said, on Game Pass. Do you think this? Do you think this game was? Trying to think. I feel like this game really benefited from something like Game Pass. Because do you think people naturally would have liked to have come out and to spend? I think it's $30 retail for the digital copy. Do you think this is worth a $30 price tag digitally for a playthrough?
Oh man,
Considering 2.5, 3 hours.
I don't think the time is necessarily how I'd value this. I think it, for one, depends on how much you care about Turtles, what's your nostalgia for it. $30 is not terrible. And I do think, supporting the developers, I mean, it's not like they are asking, $60 price for this. And there is a lot of features to it. It's a good game. I mean, it just...
So, probably gave them... we touch on Game Pass all the time, but I would anticipate the developers probably got some sort of support, right? I mean, they have to be paid to get it on the
Well, yeah, they were paid something for this. I mean, we've talked about this before. Is that enough to justify, et cetera, et cetera? I'm not want to go through that. I mean, but if you're on a platform where your only option is to buy it outright, you don't have Game Pass or something like that, I think it's worth $30 if, one, you're a Turtles fan, and you have some friends to play it with. I mean, that alone, if you have that disposable income and that's not stretched for you, yes. If it was $60, I would probably say no. But for a digital, $30, maybe you're just getting together with some buddies for a weekend, you could definitely, spend worse ways of doing it. So, yeah,
and
go for
again,
it.
you don't need like we played. You don't need multiple profiles. You had your one profile, and we all were able to play 6 characters. What were we all guests considered on that?
Yeah, it all logged in pretty easily. It wasn't like some weird, account jingo we had to figure out to kind of make everything work. We just all kind of grabbed a controller, popped it in, and everybody was good to go.
And it's not like an easy game. I think we played it on medium and had trouble with the second or third boss.
Oh no, one of our buddies wanted us
one.
to start on the highest difficulty, and we got through I think the second boss, and we're like, nope.
I don't remember that.
We started on the hardest because our friend's I'll be nice. He over anticipated or had over expectations of what we could do, but we knocked it down to normal after that and breezed through it. It's not a hard game on the base difficulty.
No. Alright guys, well yep, so that was TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Definitely an interesting experience. So we're gonna move on to I guess our first official major topic. We are kind of finally gonna close this chapter on the TV show Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Thank goodness.
Episodes 5 and 6, the season finale. So, I mean, we don't have to exactly touch on everything about episodes 5 and 6. We can kind of I'd like to think we can kind of pick and choose, seeing as how the show's kind of it. But I don't know. Just overall, I mean, what did you think? I mean, what did you hate? What did you like? If anything,
the show was pointless, man.
I'm not gonna show too much B-roll, because I know this is probably heavily.
Yeah.
I'll show.
I don't know. I mean, there was definitely some missed potential. Not that I was sure exactly what they could have done with the show to necessarily make it better at this point. Like the first episode, I know we all talked about, we all liked for the most part, 'cause, it's just kind of revisiting the characters.
I liked the first 2.
Well, neither one of them really got too deep into where it was really, really going. Yeah, I think the problem is I never really felt like it was getting to anything of importance after a while. It's just, I mean, half the, or really the majority of the show was this big, long escort mission with baby Leia, and that is not the most exciting premise for a show. It seemed like they just wanted to end up with their big battle between Obi-Wan and Vader. That was their end game. So they're like, okay, that's the show. How do we get to that point? And they had all this other stuff baked in with the Reva story and then the Leia stuff, and none of that is that interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think they handled any of the characters all that well. Obi-Wan, for most of it, I know they were playing the, he's, an old, distraught, kind of out of touch Jedi, and we've seen that before in, what was it, The Last Jedi? So, and, at first I was saying that, I feel like they're handling this better. I don't know. I mean, Obi-Wan didn't really do anything of worth or merit. He definitely didn't feel like Obi-Wan from back in the days. He didn't seem like he was strategic by any means. His fighting capabilities didn't really even come into play till the end. Like, he felt very much like a shadow of himself. Maybe that's what they wanted him to feel like.
It didn't seem like he really went through anything or learned anything that would change him in any way. Like it just makes sense that. I don't know. I agree with you. To me, it didn't feel like he really had an arc.
Yeah,
it felt
nobody.
Like he's in the same position that he was at the beginning.
Yeah,
at the end, you know what I mean?
Literally, he ends up in the same place that he began.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest problem. And that was always going to be one of the biggest problems with this show. They couldn't really do too much with any of these stories. They can't kill off anybody because you have to start with Vader, you have to end with Vader. Obi-Wan has
what has to happen.
Yeah, they're bookending it. And I mean, technically, that was one of the issues I think with the prequel trilogy is you knew how that prequel trilogy had to end, right? You had to have Anakin turn the Vader, but there was a lot more room there to flesh things out, tell some stories that hadn't been seen. This was just so constrained. There were so few episodes to really do anything, and those episodes they focused on other stuff that I don't think was of importance. People are going to argue back and forth on, if Reva is a good character or the rationale for why they added her in. It
wasn't good. She wasn't terrible.
It didn't.
Somewhere in between.
My point is it took away from the main character of the show, which should have been Obi-Wan. I don't want to say never. It very rarely ever felt like an Obi-Wan show. The focus was placed on Leia, was placed on Reva, was placed on almost everybody else but Obi-Wan. So he got very little, honestly, in relation screen time, or at least valuable screen time where he did anything of importance. And I felt like he was spinning his wheels most of the time, just waiting to get to that final battle. And that's not even touching on to some of the poor decision making that he was even involved in. Hiding Leia in his coat was the stupidest thing I had seen in a long time. I don't know.
I thought it was dumb, and then I came around and thought it was so dumb I kind of enjoyed it.
Don't try to apologize for that. Or it was a poor. What kind of strategic sense does that make? And here's the thing: Kenobi is a general. He is someone who is high-ranking, is strategic, in basically a military organization through the Jedi. You think that is the most strategic option, is to hide this little 10-year-old girl who's wiggling around in his jacket, and nobody in this Empire hangar is going to catch on to that?
He should have been on her shoulders instead. And her little feet.
At this point, I don't know.
Like Austin Powers.
The show has several moments like that don't make a whole lot of sense. It feels fairly contrived. Like, the show is just, okay, we have to get to this moment, we have to get to this next moment, and they don't really care how they get there, no matter if then they do some weird wonky rationale for how they get a character from point A to point B. They just want to get to that setup, and usually the setups don't pay off, at least in my opinion.
I think the problem is I don't know where the transition was, but the problem is that Star Wars is nowadays, it's very dumb. Like, I don't get any, like, real sci-fi vibes from it anymore. Like, there are times when, like, certain things happen where I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. Like, I feel like in, what was it? Was it The Last Jedi where they did the faster than light travel through the other ship?
Oh, yeah. The Holdo maneuver.
Like, even though it was dumb, that was one of the first times I remember in a while seeing Star Wars where I'm like, okay, that's kind of a neat sci-fi idea or event.
Don't get me started on that, man. That broke so much, like,
I know.
Here's
just
my thing.
saying-
I've never thought of Star Wars as sci-fi. It's a fantasy to me.
I
Like,
think it's more fantasy. Okay.
it's in a sci-fi setting, but when you think about, you have these magical wizards basically in space, like, it always felt more fantastic than it ever did sci-fi. I mean, the ships and stuff are just there as kind of, a way to set up this world and this environment to make it seem,
Well, if you view it that way, then shouldn't that for you allow some wiggle room for stupidity and nonsensicalness?
Okay, and I have given wiggle room.
Or
There's
you just
plenty.
think it's too far? It's so too far of the edge.
Okay, there's one thing to have, like, weird things they can do with their mystic Jedi powers, and then there's a whole second thing that you think these characters, intelligent characters who have shown to be intelligent, would just make stupid decisions. That's not having fun with it. That is making decisions that hurts the character, and how they're set up. And here's the thing: Star Wars has always had stupid, silly stuff. It's not like Disney all of a sudden has made it. I mean, at its core, especially since the prequel trilogies, this has been, in many ways, a kids show or kids movie trilogy. They sell toys. That's a big focus on it. I mean, you go back to Episode 1, Jar Jar. I mean, most people hate Jar Jar for various reasons. He was comic relief and did stupid stuff, but rarely did I think he broke the lore or the character development of somebody. He was just this weird off the wall thing.
To sort of defend the prequel series, even though I agree they're not great, I will say the one good thing about those is, like you was talking about before, about how we know where it has to go, where it has to end. Yes, you're right. The prequel series did that as well, where you knew where it had to end, you knew where characters were going to be. But at least I feel like with the prequel series, I feel like it was super entertaining. Like there's a lot happening on screen. There's some more fun happening on screen, in my opinion, than some of the more modern Star Wars. I just feel like it was just more fun. I mean, obviously everyone points at pod racing, and then you had the arena thing in episode
2.
2, yes. I was gonna say 5.
And we're gonna feel pretty different on this. I am not the biggest fan of the prequels. I do not think they were super fun in majority. I hate Episode 2. I think it's the most boring movie to watch.
It's bad.
It's not even, it's just bad. I just find it boring. They focus, huh?
Waterworld looked cool.
Yeah. But even that I thought was drawn out. To me, like, a lot of that got very political and sometimes a little overly serious. It just dragged out with the politics and got boring to me. In Episode 3, I thought it was just a little contrived. The only one I actually really liked was Episode 1. I guess what I mean by the prequel trilogy is doing a better job in a way is, and it's not even just the movies, it's the expanded, lore around those movies. They introduced characters that mattered. Like in Episode 1, Qui-Gon, I thought was an awesome character. He's one of my favorite, like, Jedi mentors in the whole series. Darth Maul, awesome villain. I mean, a little one note, but I know they expand upon him when you think about, was it the Clone Wars TV show? And honestly, I haven't even watched that whole thing. I feel terrible for it.
I'm the same way. I've always wanted to.
But I know just that fills in so many gaps, too, of, the friendship and history between Obi-Wan and Anakin that the movies don't even get into. So what I mean is that time frame, that whole segment of shows and movies and whatnot, did a lot to expand the world. I mean, even though, yes, you knew where they were going to end up, they did a lot to make that journey to that point still worth it. This show, kind of connecting between Episode 3 and Episode 4, does nothing. Like, what does this show do or add that is of any importance?
In fact, it attempts to, like, re-dig up those same vibes and same... in the same style that the those movies ended. It attempts to, like, just... I've said it, I think we said it off camera, but to me, this show is very redundant. There are a lot of, like... And I guess Star Wars has always been like that. Oh, a 4th Death Star, you know what I mean? Oh, it's the 5th time it's been back, you know what I mean?
They haven't always been that way. That's been, I think... There's been more redundancies and callbacks for the sake of fan service in the recent years than there have been back in the original trilogy days. But
redundancy has always been like a talking point when it comes to Star Wars, or that's
I don't think
for
that,
a lot of people it is.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think in the recent Disney years, yes, because I
Yeah.
mean, Force Awakens is basically a New Hope, and so a lot of what they've done in the past 3 movies and most of these TV shows, sure, there's been redundancy. If you go back to the Lucas time, I think there's far less of that. So I don't want to say that redundancy is just something that's at the core of Star Wars, because I don't think it really is. I mean, this show certainly has some, but my point being, there's just nothing this show does besides try to give you some fan service, introduce characters that don't really amount to a whole lot of anything. If anything, it impacts lore in negative ways. Like, I still go back now, and it hurts. Like, they didn't even do anything to resolve it. The whole fact that Leia knows who Obi-Wan is as a kid, and not like some passing thing like, oh, I've heard of Obi-Wan. She was her freaking savior in this whole thing. That's not something a 10-year-old kid is going to forget.
Come on, Phoenix. Han Solo talked to her and specifically told her, keep this a secret. Do you ever tell anyone about what
Han
you
Solo
just went
did?
through?
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. I say Han Solo.
And I think what bothers me about it, unless they really are planning a season 2 to this, which I don't really think they are, and I could be wrong, I have not read into it or if they announced it, but the point is they made no attempt to even recognize that, which makes me feel like these writers didn't realize they made that mistake when they made the show. Because, this show was made before they started getting all this feedback about it, and nobody caught that was, in my opinion, a fairly glaring issue.
I've heard multiple rumors that, like, there's nothing, you're right, though, there's nothing, like, written in sand as to what's happening. Like, people think there's supposed to be a season 2, people think Reva's supposed to get a spin-off show. There's so many, like,
what would a season 2 do? Like, this season was pointless. What's the second one going to do? I know they had the whole thing where Obi-Wan found the frozen Jedi underneath the whatever it was, like in the freaking Ember or Amber, I don't know. So I don't know if they have any interest in touching base on that.
They really never utilized that, really. That was just a thing that brought up and disappeared.
Yeah, I think something about that will pop up in some other show, maybe that Andor show or something like that. I don't think it's going to be another Obi-Wan show.
I got a suggestion for a good show. Obi-Wan finds a new place to live, builds a home, but then I guess I'm getting this from the Jar Jar skit. I was gonna say, but Qui-Gon won't ever leave him alone, and he just like bothers him for the rest of his life.
It's like it's an Odd Couple kind of situation where he has to live with Qui-Gon's ghost.
I was thinking midway, I'm like, oh, that's basically the.
And I tell you, that actually would have been, I think, that was one of the things I was hoping to see out of this show, was more of Qui-Gon showing up in, Ghost Jedi form and, like, training Obi-Wan to do, because that's actually a pretty big thing.
Oh, he looked old, though.
Well, yes. Okay, and Hayden Christensen didn't, trying to play a 20-year-old? Like, come on. I don't know. Like, I feel like the stuff they could have potentially utilized, I think, would have been interesting. They barely touched on, or just completely threw out the window, and they just went for some basic fan service and accomplished literally nothing. The Reva story arc, I'm sorry, doesn't work for me. Like, okay, so she was a youngling and she was trying to get back at Vader, but her approach to doing it, her motivation to be mad at Obi-Wan or being mad at the Jedi, she basically went through and helped the Sith or the Empire kill off all these Jedi that she was supposed to be avenging by killing off Vader. Like, how is that a morally good thing for that character? And that she can just redeem herself at the very end just because Obi-Wan's like, oh, I'm glad you didn't kill Luke. Good job. You're all cool now. No, like, she was a bad person that made bad choices. I'm sorry.
She's kind of a wasted character.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll use her in something. I mean, I know people have been talking about she might show up in the new, what is it? It's not Fallen Order. What's the Jedi Survivor? That's the sequel to Fallen Order?
Yes, I think it's Survivor. Sorry.
So I think I heard she could be a cameo in that, because that deals with the Inquisitors, the Third Sister, and stuff like that. Yeah. So maybe she'll be something in that, which I don't mind that. I don't mind this character existing. I mind that she existed as a primary character in this show. Like, this show should have been Obi-Wan. They should have given him some real character development. Like, you could have him be the old kind of, begrudging Jedi at the beginning, but he had to get somewhere. And I don't feel like he, even at the last episode when he has his final battle, I guess he got somewhere, maybe, because, he saw a glimpse of young Leia's face and that just, lit up his heart. I don't know. But it didn't work for me. None of it did.
Before I lose the idea, I guess kind of really thinking about it, I don't. Again, I don't think the show was totally pointless. I had some. There were. I'd say I enjoyed 3 episodes, which
Okay,
that's what 3
don't
out of
think
6.
enjoyment. When I say pointless, I mean it adds nothing to the
I agree
lore of the
with that.
canon.
I'm saying
So
I enjoyed it, but I'm not saying I agree it didn't add anything.
okay. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you can enjoy whatever. For those who have watched this show and have gotten something out of it where they enjoy the moments, I mean, the final battle with Vader and Obi-Wan, that was cool to a certain extent, but
Maybe I'm
doesn't
at the
add
point.
anything.
Maybe I'm at the. I've been saying to you for years how I'm able to disconnect Star Wars, and I consider Star Wars just 3 movies that were made in the late '70s, early '80s, and everything else since then for me has been interesting. Fan made stuff. So maybe I'm at the point where I'm like, I can totally disconnect. I can just enjoy this for what it is and
And
not
if you could do it, it's
consider it
fair,
canon.
but that's not what it is. Like, here's the thing. For those who care about...
Disney considers it canon because I
Well, it
do.
is, and I mean, I can respect what you're trying to do because if it helps you enjoy the franchise more, awesome. And I love the original trilogy far more than any other aspect of Star Wars. But what I like about a franchise like this is it grows and
Continuity.
well, continuity, but you add more stuff to it. It grows, you learn more, and it's supposed to enrich the entire thing. It enriches the story, enriches the characters, makes moments that are coming down the line feel more impactful. So, yes, does it take away from the original trilogy? No, the original trilogy is still excellent. Okay, and if that's all you care about, sure. Does that mean that you shouldn't care about all the stuff they're adding? I don't think so. I mean, this is canon that is impact moving forward, unless in 10 years Disney sells off Star Wars or scraps their whole processes. We're throwing everything out the window and starting from scratch again. And even then, that's even more of a, kick in the, the gonads, because it's just, I don't know. I have to look at everything. At some level, I like to piece it all together because I like lore. I like things to work, and I like it to enrich characters, and stuff like this matters. So, I don't know. I'll leave it at that.
I guess before I lose my thought again, what I was referencing before is that even though I enjoyed aspects of it, I guess the ultimate kind of critique, in my opinion, towards this show is that as a whole, I would say this very much feels like content filler. This feels like Disney looking at their we got Disney Plus. This feels like something that was kind of concocted up quick, pushed out quick.
It did feel quick,
It
which I
feels
thought was
like
weird because this, I mean, it's Obi-Wan. This is like, in my opinion, should have been the character like, okay, they're really putting some effort into, more so than Boba Fett or any of that. And some of the CG was bad. The writing wasn't great. Like, that was, I don't know. I don't get why this
it
felt
doesn't.
rushed.
You're right though. It doesn't. The show, in my opinion, doesn't feel like when you throw the name Obi-Wan onto a TV show or movie, this show doesn't feel like it was handled like it was Obi-Wan. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it should have been handled a lot better, and it does feel kind of quick and pushed out. And then it especially feels like content fodder because I actually got this idea is from Red Letter Media, and those guys enjoyed it, but they also were super critical. And like a big point that one of them made is that this show is the ultimate. It's more proof of content filler for a subscription service because each episode kind of drags you on. There's not really each episode has like aspects that give you just enough to keep you wanting to see the next one, but ultimately the thing you mainly want to see the most will not happen until the last episode. So it kind of gives you a reason to keep your subscription service or keep subscribed, keep tuning in just to kind of see what's going to happen. And that ultimately, I feel like if subscription services like Disney and stuff, other services, if they get to the point where the people that are subscribing are starting to notice that too much, that's a problem.
Oh man, I don't disagree with that. But I mean, that is how all these subscription services work, right? They all are trying to make sure there's enough content to keep coming back time after time. That's what Netflix is struggling with right now. Like, if it wasn't for Stranger Things coming back, I think Netflix would be like bottoming out right now. Which, by the way, that comes out tomorrow. So.
Oh shoot! Really? Well, people complained about Stranger Things about that too, about it being too extended, each episode too long. Get to the point, you know what I mean?
I don't know, but Stranger Things covered a lot more ground and did a lot more in its series. Like, I felt like every episode accomplished something for the most part. I did not feel like that with Obi-Wan. Like, I felt like Stranger Things and those creators, at least at this point, they have a story to tell. And regardless if you think of how good or interesting it is, it's moving that direction. This Obi-Wan show, I felt like they just padded it with stuff just to pad it with stuff. It definitely felt too like there were some agendas being pushed for certain characters and stuff like that. Just, I don't know. The more I think about this Obi-Wan show, it feels more and more like wasted potential, and for what it ends up being is a complete wash. Like, if you really care about the cool parts in the show, go on YouTube, look up the final scene between Vader and Obi-Wan. That's what people care about anyone.
Yeah, that's all everyone's going to take away from this show.
And that's got a few cool moments, but even that on its own, like, doesn't add anything. Like, it doesn't add anything besides, I guess, Obi-Wan being a little more, he's let go of Vader more, let go of I keep wanting to say Hayden, let go of Anakin. He's accepted that Anakin is truly dead. But here's the thing, that was my understanding at the end of episode 3. Like, Obi-Wan thought Anakin was dead, right? He left him to die, pretty much. It's not like
I would think after Anakin killing children and then burning on the ground yelling, "I hate you," I would think that would click in Obi-Wan's head of like, okay, this guy's off the deep end.
And that's how I feel. Like, if you had left off with only seeing Obi-Wan at the end of episode 3, or seeing it
essentially,
or seeing it at the end of this, he's still in the same point. Like, he is literally the exact same character. He hasn't learned, done anything new. He's just older in this one. This story did nothing. I know at this point we're probably spinning our wheels, so I won't keep saying it, but that's my, I think, biggest critique after all this. It was wasted potential that added nothing to the overall lore or canon to Star Wars. Some fan service, a couple of cool moments, a lot of really odd moments that, in my opinion, actually break canon in some ways, and I don't think it's worth a watch. And I like Ewan McGregor. I honestly like Obi-Wan, especially in the prequel trilogy, is one of my favorite characters throughout that whole thing, and it's not worth it. So and I guess Hayden looking like 40 years old. They should have did some de-aging technology on that guy. I'm sorry.
I really wish he would have said something that like would have been the total like Steve Buscemi, like, "Hey there, fellow students," or what's that mean?
Hey there, fellow kids.
Hello, fellow kids.
Well, I guess what I find so odd is they put so much effort into doing like young Luke. Like, they've done deep fake technology to get him working in The Mandalorian and Boba Fett. So they have this young Luke Skywalker, and they couldn't add a little bit of de-aging technology onto Hayden so he doesn't literally look like a 40-year-old man when he's supposed to be playing a 20-something-year-old guy. Like, that was so jarring to me. Like, I know a lot of people were happy to see that throwback with Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting up at the Coruscant of the Jedi Temple. That was more jarring to me than anything else, because I'm like, there's no way this mentally as a picture can fit back into my nostalgic memory of that timeline, because he looked so old.
Well, here I am. I'm going to play Defender again. I agree in terms of how the CGI and the decision to do that, I agree, was awful. I will say what I did appreciate about that one particular aspect of that episode 5 is I kind of liked how they were kind of using that scene and that moment to kind of reflect how Vader was kind of acting towards Obi-Wan in the current time. I mean,
the scene wasn't necessarily bad. The fact they didn't de-age him at all was. Like, that adds a jarring layer to it. Like, and it's not like, I guess I never get this. Like, Disney's not lacking for funds. That's clearly technology they have and can do. They've done it before. They've done it in Marvel movies. They've done it in Star Wars movies.
I don't know if you know, but I think Disney just this last month or two struck a deal with Stan Lee's children, where now I think they're going to start. He's going to start being in like
raise
future
Stan Lee
movie.
from the dead. Oh man, poor guy. Let him rest.
Listen, guys, when the ChazmaN is dead and gone, if I have a fan base, don't reuse my image.
Oh, I'm going to have you in like a little anime avatar above all my videos.
I just like it's like.
It's a whole thing. Owning properties to dead actors. Like, there's some videos out there you can probably look. Like, Disney's making a whole industry out of buying up the licenses to own the rights to these people, and it's pretty creepy. That's getting into a whole another thing, but I don't know. I know you're trying to defend it, and I appreciate that you enjoyed aspects of it. And I think part of it is you probably have more of a fondness for the prequel trilogy than I do. Like, I know you've talked about you like episode 2 more, and episode 3 you really like. So I think the fact that you
I
got
like
to
the prequel series to an extent.
yeah, and I think that you got to probably see some of those character interactions a little more that hit on your nostalgia may have helped you, I don't know, feel a little more accommodating to what they're trying to do in this show. For me, though, I don't have that same nostalgia.
Well, even further beyond the original series or the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy hit when I was like a very young person, so I am very definitely affected by those movies nostalgically. Like those movies hit like what 99, I was probably like 7 or 8 when the first one came out, so like they
Like
hit me
episode
when I
1
was
and 2 and all that.
yeah. So I mean, I could be biased, because of they hit me at that time.
Yeah, and
I was
that's
playing
fair.
with
Yeah, I mean, nostalgia, I mean, it's a heck of a drug, man. So, I mean, I definitely understand the power of nostalgia.
like for you would probably already seen the original trilogy before those and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't born during the original trilogy time, but I grew up watching those before, episode 1, 2, and 3 were ever a thing.
I just be more than me.
Yeah, I think it was like middle school when episode 1 came out, so I still had some childhood nostalgia for that one. But then there was such a big gap between that and episode 2. I was getting out of high school when episode 2 came out, and it just didn't hit me the same way. So I think by the time I got to the Hayden Christensen time frame, I was already over it a little bit. But I don't know. To each their own.
So I did have just a couple things I wanted to mention from my notes before moving on. I thought it was kind of cool seeing Obi-Wan do his 2-finger point. I don't know. Part of me was like, oh, he did the thing. Yeah, with the sword, whatever his thing is.
Mm-hmm.
But I did no high ground joke when Vader was above Obi-Wan in the hole.
I was waiting. Maybe it was a little too on the nose for him, but
I was waiting for Vader to be like, for him just to like snicker and say high ground. You know what I mean? Something small like that. I don't know. I felt like that. Like you were saying, it might have been too on the nose, but I don't think it was too on the nose. I felt like that was the perfect moment for.
I would have appreciated that at least just for the meme portion of it, but I'm sure
Oh, that would have been a huge meme. People would have loved that.
But I'm sure, yeah, but I get that probably is a little too fan servicey. I mean, honestly, in retrospect, I probably would have hated that long term, but it would have been fun in the moment. I agree with that.
I think it would have been more fun, but that's just me. I guess that was actually Ian McDermott as Palpatine. I thought it was a fake one, but I guess Ian came out and said no, that was me. I guess Ian and Liam Neeson both had the opinions that they were just like, no, if they're gonna bring back those characters, we want to be a part of it. We don't want anyone else playing us, which is admirable. And anything else crazy? Not really. I mean, I felt no connection to baby Luke. I could care less if he survived the fall on the rock. I was just like, okay.
Well, they didn't do anything with him at all. It was all about Leia, but
yeah.
Which even
So
Leia's character doesn't really grow or do anything. Like she starts out spunky, ends up spunky. So
she gets a gun holder,
like
gun sash.
None of the characters get anywhere. I guess the only character that has a real arc is Reva, and her arc isn't even all that great. But at least she has some arc where she grows and makes a change, and she's not even the main character, or shouldn't be the main character to the show. So something about that just rubs me kind of the wrong way.
Yeah, I would say if you're gonna want to watch this show, don't. I mean, I don't want to say don't. I mean, I'm sure someone will enjoy it, but I would just say if you want everything, all the good stuff, go to YouTube and type in Obi-Wan show Darth Vader scenes. You can
save yourself a lot of time. Like, it is hard for me to recommend this show. Like, I'd be like, well, if you already have Disney Plus and you got time and you're a Star Wars fan, sure, watch it. You might get some fun out of it. But I don't think there's enough there. There's a lot of episodes that I think there was very little to enjoy. I thought, if anything, it just dragged at times. And as I said, it doesn't add anything to the overall narrative of Star Wars. I'm not going to keep spinning our wheels, but go find highlights on YouTube. You'll be happier.
Type in all the Vader scenes from this show, and you'll be happy.
Yep. So I'm done.
All right, guys. That's it. No more. We're done with Obi-Wan.
Now you got to watch Mandalorian. I will talk and praise Mandalorian if you ever start back and watching that. That show's worth.
I'll only watch it if you're willing to talk about about them on here. I'll watch.
I
If I
will
can
talk
turn
about
it,
Mandalorian. I know we're way, way behind at this
if I
point, but
can
that
turn it
show's
into,
so much better.
I'll talk about anything for content. I'm at that point.
Anything. Okay.
We
Watch
can go
that.
back and watch.
That show's worth it.
We'll go back and watch the first season of Teletubbies, and we'll talk about it.
Tiddlywinky. Well, no, was it Tinky Winky?
I don't remember. I know Lala, Tinky Winky. I don't know. We'll move on. Okay, so let's move on. This event totally kind of took me by surprise, but just like a day or two before I came back from vacation, Nintendo announced that they would be doing a Nintendo Direct Mini, which again took me by surprise. I don't know. It actually fell on like my exact day I was off, so I was like, "Ooh, I'm definitely gonna watch this and maybe do a video," which I did. So yeah, well, I mean, again, Phoenix, we can kind of blast through a lot of these. We won't even go through each announcement, but let's just talk about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you were expecting. Um,
Well, I mean, I had
yes,
no
please go
real
ahead.
expectations. And
Oh,
Nintendo. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I should say that at the very beginning of this event, the announcer did say that all of these games are games that come out. Well, they ended up not being totally truthful because there were 2023 games in there, but for the most part, all of these games were games that are slated to come out this year. So that's just want to so you know these are all games that you should be able to play this year. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was saying, I mean, they kind of set expectations right on the beginning. So these are partner. It's a partner direct, so it's not going to
Yeah,
have
not
like
first party.
no first party. So right off the bat, I'm kind of thinking, okay, what's really under their belt there for partner stuff? And they had the obvious stuff like the Mario and Rabbids. I know was a fan favorite for a lot of people. I still haven't played the original. I always hear great things about it. I want to play it, but
Well, that one comes out the day before my birthday, so I definitely think sometime in September. I think I'm going to stream the first one. I never finished it.
so I mean there
Oh, go
was
ahead.
that. Oh no, I'm trying to think back.
Or I'll pull it.
I'm looking at the quick list right now. Oh, nothing about there really jumped out like, man, I really want to play that. I mean, there's some cool stuff like it's got Nier Automata on there finally, so that's
I've never
cool.
played that one.
I played part of it. I keep wanting to go back and play. It's just been a time issue for me, but it's fun.
I
You
think
got
I've heard though that this isn't the place where you'd want to play near though. Isn't there like you can get good PC versions and
I mean, Nier's on just about everything, or Nier Automata. So I mean,
I would
it
want to
was
play
on
like a
it was on Game Pass for a while. I think it's been removed, but you can find a copy of this pretty cheap for just about any console.
yeah.
So I don't know how well it's going to play on the Switch. I mean, I know that's always the question, but it probably will play fine enough. What else? The Portal Companion Collection's kind of cool, I guess. I mean, I played Portal so many times that
We definitely need to play Portal 2. We definitely need to do a playthrough.
I'd probably play it. It's been long enough since I played it. I might, bite the bullet and snag that again.
I'll snag it if you snag it, as long as we can stream it.
The Persona stuff, I was glad to see come here. I know it's coming to Game Pass, but I think I'd actually like to have that portable. So I'm actually more excited about seeing Persona 3 and 4 and whatnot on the Switch. I've really played through Royal, and that was a lot of fun. So 3 and 4 I've never touched, so those would be fun ones to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those
I
are the
guess
big ones.
there were some other cool things I really liked. A game, me, you, and my uncle, who is friends with us as well. I thought you guys would be super interested in maybe playing the new Bomberman when it
I
comes
knew
out.
you were gonna say that.
I was- I
I
like
heard the last Super Bomberman R, which I think released with
I
the
remember
Switch.
it wasn't that good. It got bad reviews.
And I think someone had said that it's been patched a lot and improved. And here's the thing, I've never played it, so I don't know. And I don't know how bad you could really mess up a Bomberman game. Yeah, it's cool. Bomberman is
I'm not spending
Bomberman.
$60 for Bomberman, but I'll pay
Yeah.
20, $30.
So,
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
not going to launch at that.
I think that's cool. I mean, if it's, still at its core, just, a decent Bomberman game, I wouldn't mind getting together with some buddies and play it. But I'm not jonesing to do that because I feel like at its core, it's going to be like every other Bomberman game. So I could just play one of the old ones. So I don't know.
Actually, what a lot of people thought was the biggest surprise announcement, which something that's actually, I don't know, kind of, it's right after this one, but I've actually never played. I'm not a big Mega Man fan, but this whole like Mega Man Battle Network collection thing apparently is kind of a big deal. It's like a bunch of Game Boy Advance games, all the
Yeah.
ones that were on there,
I haven't
all in one
played
like
these.
package.
I know it's almost more of like a Mega Man deck builder kind of thing, from my understanding. But I could be very
Really?
wrong. I mean, not maybe deck building is the wrong way, but you can see from the gameplay. I mean,
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah.
yeah, it's not your standard Mega Man game. So I never really
Oh,
played them. I think I have one or two of them somewhere in the collection, but I haven't ever whipped them out. I'm terrible at Mega Man games just in general, so
yeah.
this one didn't really pique my interest too much. But for those who are into it,
Mm.
it's cool. I like these big collections like this,
It
especially
looks
for
kind of
older
board
games.
gamey, like you were saying. It does look like a board game
Yeah.
type thing. But actually, since it transitioned, a game I actually really excited for, not excited, but I thought was kind of cool was this Pac-Man World repack game. Now I was kind of confused as to what this game is. I
It's a
think
remake of the first
it's
one.
a remake of the first one. Okay. But yeah, I played the first one. I think it was never a game I would finish, but it was a game back in the day I used to like replay the first few levels like over and over and over again.
Wasn't the first one
Even when I
originally
was
on the first PlayStation? I,
no,
I
first
think
one
the
was
first Pac-Man World was. Pac-Man World 2 was in like PS2 and Xbox.
whichever one was the first. Whichever one was the first one on Xbox PS2. That's the one I used to replay
I'm pretty
over and
sure
over.
that's Pac-Man
You could be
World
right.
2.
I'm
I'm gonna
not gonna
find
fight
out.
you on it. I don't know for sure. But yeah, like I said, it was never a game I would like finish or play it. It was just a game I would like continuously keep playing the first couple levels. I don't know, when you're a kid, that's good enough, you know, replaying demos and levels and stuff.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
PS1 game. I just checked.
okay, so but there was three on the PS2 Xbox generation, I think.
Yeah, I think in general there are three Pac-Man worlds. The first one was on the PlayStation 1, and then 2 and 3 were on the PS2 Xbox generation.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I'm actually not a big fan of the Pac-Man IP, but I don't know. I always enjoyed these games on the on those
Hmm.
consoles. Might be kind of a fun playthrough, see how it plays. Maybe I'll play it on stream or something to have that original game at some
So
point. What about you?
maybe. I mean, I'm kind of the same. I'm not. The only Pac-Man game I really liked was Pac-Man. Was it Championship Deluxe? That game was a
That was a
lot of
good
fun.
one. That was a good one, man.
So I want to ask, how do you feel about Sonic Frontiers? I know we never really talked about it, and it's got a lot of
Ooh.
hate over the past few months.
Um. Let me pull up some B-roll. I'll be honest. I'm not really interested. I've never been a big Sonic fan. I'm trying to think of a Sonic game that actually, I would say Sonic Adventure on the original Dreamcast is probably the only one I have any, um, like, like favor towards, but I think that's purely nostalgia, just from that generation, you know, because that was like the game on the Dreamcast everyone
Mm.
mainly remembers. But other than that game, I would say I actually think I did kind of enjoy that newer Sonic thing that came out on the Switch. What was that? That was like a remake, or it was like a combination of like the first
I talk
two
about
or three
Mania.
Sonic games. Mania. I
Hmm.
kind of liked Mania to an extent, but I don't know. Just for me, overall, the speed and overall gameplay of Sonic games has never been anything that draws me. I've always preferred Mario games.
Yeah, I'm not
Not
against
saying
that.
you have to choose between Mario and Sonic, but you know,
From your, I know the big critique to this just looks bland. I think people liked this trailer more than what they showed initially,
this
but
trailer showed a lot more in terms of the world than previous trailers did. So, uh, I don't know. If I find it cheap, I'll play it. I don't know. That's kind of the way I am with games now. Where it's like, rather, well, sorry for to the industry, but I find, you know, me and you have been collecting games for a bit, so we find brand new games all the time for the cheap, you
yeah.
know, in pawn shops and out in the wild. So if I find one for 20, $30, I'll pick it up. But I don't think this is a title I'm going to pick up day one or anything like that.
No, and I didn't think you would. I was just more curious, like if you had any strong feelings about the direction they're going with the open world or pseudo open world or anything like that.
I would think you would love it. It's Breath of the Wild with
I
with
don't think it
the
really
Sonic
is.
in it.
I think people are just looking at it from an aesthetic standpoint. They're seeing some similarities there. I don't know. I mean, I'm pseudo open to it. I'm not against it by any means. But I've never played, a lot of the 3D Sonic games anyway, so I'm not. I don't have, a dog in either race, to be honest.
To me, it looks like this green pasture area is like the open world, and then maybe you Sonic uses that to transition to some of these other places.
Yeah, I heard it's like
I don't
open
know.
zones or something. So it's not like this is gonna be some giant world. I think you explore. You'll have little segments. You can do some things and move on
I
to other
forgot in
places.
Sonic that's the name of their levels. They're all zones.
Hmm.
Forgot about that. But yeah. So again, eh, 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 eh.
Anything else from the direct that really caught your attention?
I actually want to move on to one. It's not a big game, but I feel like it might be fun. I don't know if you'd be down sometime to possibly. 'Cause I think it's only a two-player, but this game called Blanc. It's a little like indie game or something
Yeah, I
that
saw
they
that.
announced, where you play like a fawn and I think a baby fox or something.
Hmm.
It just looks like a fun little two-player. Hopefully, it's not that well, I don't want to say hopefully it's not long. I haven't played it yet, but I don't know. It at least looks like a fun little two-player game. Might be a fun stream or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't be
A little
opposed
bit
to it.
of like some puzzling and stuff, trying to stay alive in the snow.
Yeah, I like co-op puzzlers, so it's got a cool aesthetic to it. I'd be willing to check it out.
Anything else that really tickled my fancy? I guess there was more on Live Alive, which is a game that I don't know. I kind of want to play it still at
Hmm.
some point. I think this is that RPG where you go through like different time frames or
Yeah.
something. There's like time travel involved, different I don't know. It looks cool. It looks like a very Final Fantasy ish, type game. Um, Trying to think. Anything else that really popped out to me? I did notice they had an announcement for a Plague Tale Requiem.
Hmm. As a
Like
cloud
that's gonna be
version.
as a cloud version. Like I'm not quite sure what. Like, so is this like a different game, or is this that game that's just, or is this the same game running at like 480,
Well, it's not going to run at 480. It's just not going to run
720?
natively. It's going to be streamed. That's what cloud version is. Which means it's probably going to have some input lag, etc. And honestly, this is what people are actually. I don't know if you saw this, but people are furious because they announced, Near Automata for this as a native game, but people are comparing that to like Kingdom Hearts. I believe Near is a Square game, and so is Kingdom Hearts. And Kingdom Hearts was released as a cloud game. People were like, okay, so you can get a fairly modern game like Near Automata to run natively on the Switch, but you can't give us a native version of what 20-year-old Kingdom Hearts games. Like people are furious about it because they got those cloud versions of Kingdom Hearts that play like crap, so they were not too keen about it. I don't know. It seems
Oh,
like just about any cloud implementation they've done on the Switch has been lacking. Which I mean, what are you gonna expect? It's streaming. I mean, it's based upon your network connection now. And although I am at its core a proponent for cloud streaming, it's still not there yet. It's not 100%. So I wouldn't want that to be
mhm.
my only way or primary way to play certain games. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess kind of looking. I'm looking at the other titles, and I guess. Oh, I guess there was Return to Monkey Island. I guess that was one that a
Did you
lot
ever
of
play
people.
any of those?
Nope, never played a single. I know they're old point and click games from
I
the
played the first
90s.
one on PC when I think I was in, man, it must have been elementary school or something. I don't remember much about it, but I mean, this looks cool. For those who are into it, I know they're pretty jazzed about it. For what it shows, it looks like it's pretty smooth. It's got a cool art style. So,
Hmm.
yeah, cool.
Might
Huh.
be interesting to try out. Again, it's doesn't look like a full price game I'd try out, but I don't know, maybe something slightly cheaper, something more budgety.
Fair enough.
Um, I don't
Well,
know.
that's all I
That
got
sounds
for the
funny.
Nintendo stuff. Like honestly, I mean,
Yeah,
it was all fine. I'm glad they get they kind of set expectations early on, but nothing in there's just immediately jumping out like, man, I can't wait to play that. I'm excited about the Persona stuff. Assuming I ever get time to play games like that again. Those are always long
there is
games.
now that I think about it, I guess there is kind of an ideal that I don't think there's necessarily a good or bad way of approaching it, but I'm noticing a lot of these events that are started by, some of these game companies. There really is no good way of putting that message out, like, because there's a lot of people who've been complaining about how, like, okay, so you in this event at the beginning, you put that phrase out there of saying these games are all coming out. It's expectations again.
Right.
It's like these games are all coming out within 12 months. These are with by the end of the year, and it's like is that the best way of doing it, or should you put the word out before, like a week in advance, letting people know, setting expectations? But then by doing that, you could affect how many people tune in and watch your thing because people are
I don't think it's going to affect
already
tune in. Like, they're going to get plenty of views no matter what. I think, honestly, setting it, I mean, I don't think you should do it like too early. I think how they've done it has probably been fine. Here's the thing, if you set it too early, it gives people time to speculate a lot. And I think then they let their mind go crazy, and whatever expectations they tried to set, people's crazy thoughts want to kind of branch out of those expectations. So if you hit them quick and be like, hey, this is what it's going to be, and don't give them a lot of time to really think outside the box of what those confines of expectations are, hopefully it gauges it better. So I don't know, I think that's all fair. I think the way they ran this was fine. Does that mean that I'm still sad that we haven't seen any new stuff from Metroid or the new Zelda? Of course, but Nintendo does what Nintendo wants.
Where's that other game that's big? I know people Bayonetta. They've showed Bayonetta like 2 years ago or a year ago, and
yeah, and
still...
honestly, this would have been the time to do it because that's a third party, and people are all super concerned about it. I know the producer of that game has been getting all mad because people are like hounding him about when are you gonna tell us about this game.
I didn't know that. I just know it's a major Nintendo, or I think Nintendo has the rights to it for like the first year or two or something now or something.
Yeah, I think the producer or the developer came out and was like, leave me alone. The game will come out when it's ready.
Oh, sheesh.
Which, to be fair, he's probably getting hounded. But, I mean, hey, that's good. People are, wanting to hear about your game and see your game. So
I was just going to say, that's not necessarily a problem. You should be happy that people are like...
I think, though, they were all like, people were like, coming up with ideas like, oh, this game's going to get canceled. It's going to do this. We haven't seen anything. The guy's just like, chill out. Everything's fine. Just wait.
That's why you need to do a better job giving updates.
I don't know if that's necessarily you update too early, and you like we've seen that before. A game shows their hand too early, or it's too rough, and people are just like, "Ew, what's wrong with this game? What are you guys doing?" So, I think it's safer to when you've got your game packaged and presented the way you want. That's when you show it, and if it's not ready yet, and he's not ready to show what he's been working on, he shouldn't do it. I mean, honestly, you saw how that kind of went with Sonic Frontiers. Like, they showed their game in a way that wasn't favorable to everybody else. And granted, this game was much further along, I think, than maybe Bayonetta even was. But, I don't know. You don't present it the right way. You present it early, and you're going to get a lot of negative fanfare. So, I don't know. I trust them to release it when they're ready.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I guess just overall thoughts on this event. It was fine. I wasn't like totally blown away. There was a couple things here or there that I thought were decent. I don't know, what about you? Kind of the same boat?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody's just kind of reeling from the fact that we didn't really get any big E3-like feels. I mean,
yeah,
it was really lacking this year. I know it's been kind of lacking over the past couple of years, but I think it's really kind of settled in this, like, there's not that excitement right now. People are hoping that, these directs and, showcases.
Well, hold on. We got one more event to cover.
Yeah,
maybe
but
was
still.
Something maybe.
Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but.
I know. I'm just messing.
I don't know.
I would say my big thing I took away is I was kind of looking at this event and hoping to find a reason to play my Switch in general, because there really hasn't been that many games as of late that I've really wanted to play on my Switch. I was kind of hoping to see a couple things, and there's a couple things that are maybes, but there's nothing on there that's like, this is definitely gonna give me a reason to use my Switch. Maybe the Mario and Rabbids game, but
don't forget Pokemon's coming out end of the year. Like, that's a couple of months away, to be honest. Was that November? It wasn't in this direct, but Pokemon.
Are you excited for that then?
I'm not super excited, but I know you're a Pokemon fan, and I know you're. Yeah. I mean, and they'll get more information about it. Like, there's not a whole lot from this direct I'm super excited about. Nintendo's still got some big stuff coming that, I'm looking forward to. Pokemon is a little up in the air. I mean,
to be fair, Arceus was interesting because it was of the aspect that, like, we thought it was going to be something different. So for me, that one had more of an excitement. I think this upcoming game, as it turns out, it seems as though they're returning back to formula.
I don't know. Not necessarily back to formula. I don't know. It seems like it's a middle ground between the two. I know we're getting off topic a little bit, but it's open world in a different way than it has been before. You can go off in any direction you want. I think there's some level of co-op, isn't there?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure there was a way you could actually adventure with your friends kind of thing. I mean, it feels like it's missing some of the features from Arceus that we were kind of digging. Like, I'm a little sad I haven't seen it yet where they like sneak up and
The
chuck balls.
Pokeball. Yeah, I
And I'm
can
not
see that.
sure if at its core that's something I have to have or not, but I don't know. I am interested. Arceus did get me a little more back in favor of, new Pokemon stuff, so maybe we'll see how this next one plays out. But I mean, that's
The
on the
same boat.
horizon.
I'm in the same boat. We'll see. It definitely. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out. I mean, you guys will definitely hear back from us because we're either going to be happy or I don't know. I still actually have been thinking that in the next few months I would like to play. I still haven't played Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu,
I
so I
actually
want to play that
just
on stream.
started getting back into that with my daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because I have the Pokeball thing.
Yeah.
I want to play that on
I got
stream or something.
mine right here. Been charging it up. So
Well, I want to play it on stream or something for the folks. So, all right, guys. Well, that was that event. So, I guess we're gonna move on to our final topic of the day. Now, granted, again, this is another event that we're a bit late on. It's one we just never got around to. I know Phoenix. I pushed it off. I don't remember why. You couldn't make 1 week, and then I went on vacation, so it was just like a snowballing effect of pushing things off. But yeah. So we'll move on. For me, it was a very anticipated event. Was the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. Now again, you could say why was it very anticipated? I was just looking for something to watch and wanted to see some fun game stuff, especially because I would say I'm more of an Xbox guy. I'm more PC, but
well, I will
like
say
the Xbox
Xbox is the only platform I felt like that really tried to hype up their showcase. Like
Their
Nintendo's
showcase,
just
yeah.
like, bam, here's a direct. Sony, they did like their small little state of play kind of thing, didn't they? For like, and it wasn't even once again like major first party studios. This is the only I think major publishers like, hey, check out what we got. Was super excited and like talked about it like a month in advance and had countdown timers and all that kind of stuff. So I guess to your point that I think you're probably trying to allude to earlier, this was the most E3 like things felt over the past few weeks. As far as how successful that was, I don't know, but I don't know. It was nice to see that much kind of pomp and circumstance kind of added to elevate the emotions of the event.
Yeah. So to start things off, I guess they did Nintendo ended up kind of copying them for the previous event, but Microsoft at the beginning of this event did at least put that kind of caption on there just saying, hey, these games are all games that are coming out within the next 12 months, which I actually thought was a very interesting thing for Microsoft to do because the previous show that they had, remember in years past, Microsoft has been just willy-nilly throwing out logos, for games that people are never going to expect to see. I think from what I read is that Phil Spencer was actually, I don't want to say peeved, don't act like but they said he very much this year was just like, okay, we need to stop doing that. He said, I guess maybe I'm guessing the whole reason for that is maybe to give people more of a reason to go with Game Pass. They want to try and get more subscribers, and continuously putting out games that people aren't going to get to play on there maybe is a bad move.
It's a double-edged sword. Like, people, I mean, it's nice to know that, hey, they're working on the next Fable game. But the problem is if you're, that early on in development where you're not going to see this game for 5 years, then you have people just, grasping at straws, be like, is this it? Is this it? And it adds to disappointment every time there is no details, is no information. And even when they do have a good showcase, like I know we're going to talk about the showcase, and just, spoiler, I thought this was a favorable showcase. It didn't have Fable. It didn't have a new Gears. I'm now thinking about all the stuff it didn't have because I know they're working on it, but I didn't get any more details about it. Now, is that a bad thing? I just said a few moments ago that I don't want them to show a game until it's ready. And I think that's probably where Phil Spencer's at. He's like, you know what? If this game is 2-3 years out and it's not going to be something that we can market and push out now, we shouldn't be putting a lot of emphasis on it. So
I think it was a good decision.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought this was a pleasant and good showing, in my opinion, for Microsoft.
And honestly, I feel like I know people, and we're going to go through this. People keep getting on Microsoft like there isn't enough there. They don't have Starfield now popping out in November, but there is still just so much value, especially if you go the Game Pass route. And Microsoft is still putting out a lot of stuff.
Like a lot of games. I mean, have you seen this? I don't know if you probably can't too late to throw it on there. But this image that they have of all the games coming out in 2022.
Oh yeah.
Or if I move it over to the screen, maybe you can see it. But yeah, this whole like image right here of like all the titles you can play, it's just crazy. Like that's crazy that many games are coming out this year, and then they've got like already like a list for 2023.
Go ahead and zoom in on that just a little bit because it's kind of tiny.
Oh, can I? How do I?
Control scroll or Control plus. You can do it. There you go.
Yeah, but this whole thing, that's something they put out, but like, it's really, they look, something that I actually really appreciate is they have, oh shoot, I can't think of the word. What's the word? They have oh no, I can't think of the word. What's a game plan? A
roadmap.
A layout? Roadmap. Sheesh, I don't know why I couldn't think of the word roadmap. But, that's something that people always ask for. You know, people always want roadmaps and, well, Microsoft basically has one. This is what we're going to put out, and then this is what we're looking forward to. It's kind of nice.
And there are some big titles in there. There are a few question marks that we'll get to in a minute, but there's some good meat there until, we do get the next Fable or whatever it may be. So, I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and look at some of these games.
Yeah. We'll start digging in there. Let me...
I'll just mention, what did you think of Redfall?
Oh, what I think of Redfall. Get the B-rolls going. Oh shoot. I want to see your face.
You don't want to see my face? Oh.
I said I do want to see your face. I gotta get my notes out of there. So I can see what you look like when I beat you down with all my knowledge.
Haha.
But Redfall, I mean, I think it looks fun. That's a bad way of saying fun.
Fun? Question mark.
Fun? Question mark. I think it's going to be real fun to play with you guys, but it doesn't. I don't know. I guess you could say that for many games. It's fun to play with friends, but it seems like maybe a better effort than Back 4 Blood was at trying to recreate the Left 4 Dead formula. Not saying that this is Left 4 Dead-y, but it.
Oh, it's Left 4 Dead-y. I mean,
I'm definitely hoping to have those kind of like fun, that kind of fun with friends.
This was not what I was expecting of this game. Like, the only thing I remember of this game is that trailer they showed last year, and it was, overly CG. And I know it was, hinting at, you play as different characters, and they have different, kind of skill sets and whatnot. But I initially wasn't expecting it to be this co-op shooter, Left 4 Dead-like experience. So, I don't know. I mean, it looks kind of interesting. I'll tell you, for me, and you may agree or disagree, it's my actually, the best way I'll say is my wife was watching this with me, and she just kind of looked at me and was like, it has an interesting art style, question mark. And I'm like, you mean it looks old? She's like, yeah, it looks old. Like, the graphics are just kind of dated to me. And that's, I think, part of Arcane's just...
I was just going to say it's that Arcane style.
Yeah, but I don't think it translates well here. Like, I think it can work for some of their more single-player focused games, but maybe because this game is trying to be a little more open-ended or expansive, I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know, not hitting the detail threshold that I'm looking for. Everything just looks a little rough to me. And maybe I'm judging it too early.
I didn't have a problem with that. I think my big problem is, like, it looks fun having these abilities and all that stuff, but, like, part of the thing that made Left 4 Dead so much fun were all of the different enemy types. Like, Left 4 Dead, like, you could do so much with the zombie, formula that, like, you had the bloaters, you had, like, the tanks, you had the witches, the lickers. I mean, freaking, you can keep naming off different enemy types. And I just wonder if the vampire theme, if that's gonna, if that can deliver enough, variety in terms of fighting monsters. Like, I mean, all you really see is you see some humans, there's the vampires, and then there's like some sort of poppers or whatever.
Yeah, like the floaty one, and they're like, I think there is plenty of opportunity here. Like, they could do some weird stuff with their vampire lore.
Like this little popper thing.
But... yeah, but they have a few others they've already shown. There was one that like kind of floated above everybody. Like, I think there's enough room here they could do some cool stuff with. I'm not saying they showed a whole lot of that in this gameplay segment.
I think what could... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't know if I really have a whole lot more to even say about it. I don't have any strong feelings about this, to be completely honest. Like, it
I
looks
agree.
neat.
I'm
I
in that
think
same
playing
boat.
it with you guys could be fun. Maybe it's just 'cause I wasn't expecting this type of game. I don't know. Maybe I should have been based upon the original trailers, and I didn't get a good feel for really. I know they
Well,
mentioned all the different classes and archetypes, but what they actually do and how they're gonna play, I don't know. And I'm sure that's something that's coming down the line.
this right here is where I'm hoping the game really excels. Is the world itself, the normal world is fine, but like
This
these
upside
sections
down kind of level.
these sections where they keep going into the because I think from what they've kind of said is that each like level is in like a different area of the town. So there's like
hmm
a theater that'll be like the theater will be its own level. Uh, I'm sure there's probably a port with boats or something. You know what I mean? Each aspect of the town, there's a church. Each aspect of the town, I think, from what I understand, is going to be like its own area.
hmm
So I'm hoping like these weird like you were saying, underworld, otherworldly areas. I'm hoping they're like there's a lot to that when you get inside of them. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
upside down, like that would be really cool. I'm hoping maybe they're holding back other enemy types that are within that. Cool bosses. That's always nice with any game.
Yeah.
But
I'm not real negative on it. I'm also just not real positive on it. I'm kind of
I just
lukewarm
don't
right
know
now.
I just don't know what to like expect or I don't know.
I think it was weird because they're maybe. I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. They seem to hype it up like this was some big game for them, but to me, I never felt like that. It just felt like kind of this, side game they're kind of working on and kind of revealing. So I guess their expectation, it feels like, of what they think this game is going to be and what my expectation was, aren't really lining up yet. But that's probably just me not, spending enough time kind of focusing on what they're doing here. I don't know.
Trying to look at this like leveling up. It's just up right
Oh,
there.
the skill tree.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the good things is again, Arcane is a great studio. Like
It's true.
they generally put out quality games. So at least there is that like, we know that Arcane is like a quality studio. They're not going to put out a bad game for the most part. I wasn't that big on Prey. I know a lot of people loved Prey, but
I
I thought
like
I was
Prey.
just I thought it was just I.
I
But
think
you know
that's
what I
weird though.
mean.
Like most of the games that they've done have been those immersive sim-like games. Like you got the Prey, you got the Death Loops, you got the Dishonored. This is such a different type of game for them. Not saying that they shouldn't branch out, and if it's the game they want to
I
make,
was just
more
gonna say,
power to them.
isn't that like almost a good thing? Like, don't you want like I don't know, maybe
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that because it depends. Like, and here's the thing: they might put this out and knock it out of the park, and this could be incredible. But part of me is just like, I'd rather play, I don't know, another game
Left for
like.
Dead?
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but like another game in the immersive sim realm that I know they're so good at. 'Cause, I mean, one, I like that style of game, so maybe that's just me being a little selfish there. But you know what? I tell you what, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about it. I don't really have that much against what I'm seeing here. I'm just, I don't know. I'm a little
Well,
caught off
guess what?
guard. So
You don't have to spend any additional money on it. It's going to be on Game Pass, so we're going to play it on stream
what? I'm
anyways.
not playing with you. No, I was kidding.
What are you talking about? We gotta entertain the millions out there.
All right, let's move on. What else?
I guess I mean just quick mention. I know a lot of people were hyped about this Silk Song game. Never played a Hollow Knight game. I don't know what this has to do with
Oh, there's only
Hollow
one Hollow
Knight.
Knight. Like this is like the sequel, essentially.
Oh well, again, I don't know the hubbub. I mean, to me, it looked like a pretty average looking
Oh, you got to play Hollow Knight.
platformer. Really, I've never played one,
I
or
haven't
I didn't
finished
play the
it.
first one.
Did you ever play Ori and the Blind Forest or any of that?
No, I've always wanted to play those.
I
Never
mean,
played
it's
them. I hear they're
different.
hard.
It's
I hear they're
different,
hard games.
but it's in that vein. Like, I
Well, I'm
mean,
gonna
these
pull.
are extremely polished, and the gameplay is, superb in them. So, I mean, I do recommend it. And I know there's a lot
Interesting.
of hype about this second one, as I still need to finish the first one. But, I know it's big news for those who are into Hollow Knight.
Moving on to another one. Actually, well, again, we won't go through anything, but I'll touch on the kind of the stuff I enjoyed. You feel free to stop me on any one that I feel like I jump over. You might want to talk about.
Sure.
But another one, actually, we talked about it when we were hanging out with our friends. All of our little friend group, we all like Rick and Morty. So getting to see High on Life, I thought looked like a pretty interesting game. just looks like a weird shooter with a bunch of jokies everywhere. I don't know. I think it looks
So
fun.
weird, man. Have you played any of the other games made by the Rick and Morty
Justin
guys?
Roiland?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Man, I haven't played too many. I played the one VR game that was on the Quest by them, and it is just the weirdest thing. So, I mean,
I want that though.
I do, but I mean, I'm just now imagining that in like a full AAA, expansive game like this. So, I mean, it's gonna be a ride, man. I mean, it looks
This just
unique to say the least.
this just looks like Borderlands, but every gun is that one gun that talks, the one that goes. You remember that one?
Yeah, well, if I know anything about these creators and the games I played, I wouldn't try to gauge your expectations at all. Like, just go in here and just take it for what it is, because it's gonna be a mind trip. So,
That's what I agree. That's what I'm kind of what I'm looking forward to. I guess we'll just touch on real quick. Did you care anything about the whole Riot Games stuff? I know a lot of people are saying that's actually a huge deal, even though a lot of people don't care about it.
I'm not big on League or anything. That's not my thing. From what I understand, though, this is a huge value. So, I mean, if you're into Riot games and you play League and all that kind of stuff, you're getting a
Valorant.
lot out of it. I guess, and this is just me not having the knowledge of this. I would
I'm in the
imagine.
same boat.
Well, I would imagine if you are already big into those games,
You probably already have all that stuff.
you might. I mean, maybe not all of it. As I said, I don't know the extent of just how much value is here and like what all it's offering to like players who are currently playing their games.
Apparently, owning every character in League is like super expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm sure it's great for those players. I'm hoping there's a good value proposition there, and that even if they have been playing for years and years, this is still offering them something. I don't know if this is enough to pull those that don't play League or Valorant or any of that stuff in to this ecosystem, but maybe the fact that it's available to you might grab a few. So I don't know. I mean, more value to Game Pass at the very least. So cool.
Yeah, I agree. Then I guess the next one they showed is Plague Tale Requiem again. Or I guess they officially. I don't know if they officially put a date on. I don't know if it had one prior. I know this is technically a major release for Microsoft. Like this is one of those. I don't want to say it's a tent pole, but it's definitely like one of their larger games that they have coming out this year.
Did you play the first one?
I never played the first one. I've heard differing things. Like I've heard, I don't know that game. I feel like got some weird. It's very similar to Hellblade. Like there are some people that said it was really good, and there's other people that were like, eh.
Yeah, like just what I've seen of the gameplay and whatnot. I mean, it looks cool enough. It's not a game that would grab hold of me just watching it. So I mean, I'm not super intrigued. I'm sure it's going to be quality enough, and for those who are into it, more power to them. But I'm not heavily interested in playing it.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, the quality of it looks good. Yeah,
that's such a cool thing to say about every game on here. It's just like, oh well.
Well, I'm curious if it's every game, and we'll get to that in a minute because there's one or two that maybe I'm missing something on, but we'll get to it. I'm jumping.
One of the big ones is actually kind of up in the air. One of the ones I really want to play.
That's probably
we'll talk about it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Sorry.
Yeah. So again, well, just I guess some other notable that there was Forza Motorsport got announced. Overwatch 2 finally came out to open access. That's coming out on October 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Our history, Bethesda, we got more Bethesda stuff. They talked about more ESO and DLC for 76.
I've been tempted to go and finally try 76. Like I still haven't.
Play it if you play it. I'm open to whatever.
I might. 'Cause, I mean, I'll tell you, I still enjoy Fallout even when they're bad Fallout. Like I know a lot of people did not like 4, and they'll argue it's not a good Fallout game.
No,
I still liked it. So
I'm open to play anything. Content is content. Even though I don't know, it may not be great, but I'll play it as long as you play it. ESO I've tried out twice, and both times because I actually prefer. I mean, we can make it a topic someday, but I prefer the Elder Scrolls versus the Fallout stuff. I think you've said you're the opposite, you prefer Fallout versus Elder Scrolls. But
not that I don't like Elder Scrolls. I mean, I love Oblivion.
No, I know you don't. But I've tried to play ESO on 2 different occasions.
It's too cartoony for me. I don't know.
I got bored. Just playing by yourself. It's just like you got to have people to play with.
I even played it with people
and
back
then.
then.
Friends.
Maybe. I'm sorry. Not trying to cut you off. I'm trying to recall. It's been so long. I played it back when it was still relatively new, And I'll tell you, maybe I just was doing things wrong, but I was playing with a group and like we couldn't get progress to sync the right way, and I don't know. It didn't feel like a natural Elder Scrolls experience to me, but once again, I didn't give it a huge amount of time, so it might just be me, not giving it enough due diligence to kind of get through the game. But I wasn't a big fan.
So I want to move on to something that I'm super excited for, which I don't know why, but I want to play on
It's Vin
stream. If
Diesel and
you're
Ark,
down,
right?
no. Forza Horizon, the Hot Wheels DLC. I really want to try that out. That comes out on the
No,
19th of next month.
but we'll still have to buy that.
Do you still have to buy it?
Typically, I mean, I could be wrong, but the way most Game Pass things work is the base game is, well, not free, but is included with Game Pass. DLC, though, you typically still have to pay for. So we would have to pay for the DLC. But, I mean, not that I'm opposed to that. I mean, was it going to be $15, maybe something like that?
I would be down for that. I just know I just saw the Hot Wheels stuff, and they had the super nostalgic punk rock in the background, and I'm just like, yeah, Hot Wheels.
It looks fun. I mean, it's freaking cars going through giant loop-de-loop, so who wouldn't be for that? And Horizon was fun to begin with. Like, I don't know why I stopped. Oh, I know why I stopped playing. Infinite finally came out.
I never got to play it, so.
I played it for about 2 or 3 weeks before Infinite popped out, and it was a lot of fun. If you're into racing, especially the more arcadey racers, I mean, the core gameplay is excellent. The world is a lot of fun to drive through. So this is just going to be, a cherry on top, hopefully.
So I'll move on to another one that I'm actually super excited for. The game Scorn, which is a game that's been talked about for years and years and years, had such a troubled development cycle. It actually, here it is. It's all the gross stuff. This game actually finally got a release date. I know people have been saying where's Scorn for years because Microsoft has had it at like every single event they've done the last 3-4 years. But this game, guess what day it comes out? My birthday. Yeah.
Yay.
It's actually kind of crazy, man. The 3 games that come out on my birthday are this game, Mario and Rabbids, and Persona 5 coming to Game Pass. It's like trying to decide which one I want to play. I think
Don't
Scorn,
start Persona 5 until you've got a lot of time. Like,
until
a lot of time.
Quit my job.
I mean, I played, was it Royal, and it took me like 140 hours or something.
Yeah. No.
Honestly, I don't know if you're going to like it, but that could be a conversation for another day.
We'll see. But yeah, Scorn, again, I don't even know if I'll like it. I just know it's a game I've been wanting to play, and it's on Game Pass, and it's my birthday, and that's around the scary season, so it might be fun to stream it.
Yeah, I tell you, they haven't shown a lot of like actual gameplay for Scorn. You get like little nuggets of it, so
It looks like it could be wonky, for all I know.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think if everybody's playing that game, they're playing it for the aesthetic and kind of the body horror, like Aliens vibe.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, a super interesting one I just want to touch on real quick was this game kind of came out of nowhere. This game called Flintlock Siege of Dawn. I know this one was one of the ones that a lot of people were talking about that they took away that were most interested. It just, I don't know, it kind of looks pretty different. I think a lot of people were comparing it to, oh man, what's that game on PlayStation that's got postponed?
The one with the
dragon
chick.
Yeah.
Man, what was the name of that? I don't remember now. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. A lot of people were saying, oh, this is that game killer, just because, I don't know, that looks kind of similar and it's got a, female protagonist, but it looks cool, man. It's got some cool boss battles. It looks almost, I don't want to say it. It looks almost Dark Souls-like, which
I feel
not
like
in favor of,
the developers have made a lot of Souls-likes. I think, or at least in that vein, from what I was reading up on. So probably have a little bit of that.
It looks cool. You get flying around and you have this monster dog with you.
Yeah, I'm curious how the gameplay is going to feel because sometimes it looks a little floaty, and I'm sure that's probably just. I mean, I think it's just because you have the powers.
It's also a smaller. It's not like a major studio.
Right.
I think it's from, or it's from some new studio or something. So it's interesting. It's a new game from a relatively unknown studio. Looks cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know. Kind of go down the list. Let me know if there was anything that really stuck out. I mean, Minecraft Legends, Lightyear Frontier, Gunfire Reborn,
I know we're all waiting to get. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I know which one but I was gonna say another one that I thought looked cool. Did you see the last case of Benedict Fox?
Yeah, uh,
It looked kind of like an
it's
Ori
weird.
in terms of style. It's like a side scroller.
Kind of got some like was it Lovecraft vibes going on here a little bit.
Yeah, I just kind of like the art style and thought it looked kind of neat. Might be a fun little playthrough.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're making our way. I see what you got. Anything else? I didn't care about. Oh, Pentiment was one I thought was kind of interesting, not because the game looks particularly my style,
It's a
but you know
Bethesda
who this.
game, isn't it?
It's not a
Or no, I'm
Bethesda.
sorry, Obsidian.
It's an
Obsidian.
Obsidian
That's what I
game.
meant to say.
Apparently, it's made by like the main Obsidian guy.
Hmm.
Like this is made by like the guy who I guess is most credited with doing a lot of the Obsidian stuff. But apparently, this is like him and like like a splinter group of Obsidian. It's just like a passion project. Like I guess this is their like away time away from like Avowed and what was the Outer Worlds or
Hmm.
whatever. I don't know. It just looks kind of fun and it definitely looks different than the other Obsidian stuff. Although I know a lot of people were kind of upset because they were expecting like, "Ooh, this is the Obsidian title we were anticipating," and I guess you know expectations. People were hoping for like some big RPG or something. But I think people, you know, they deserve to be able to work on what they want to work on, and it's if it's a passion project.
I think this could be one of those games that you're gonna have to play to really understand and get, because just looking at it, I don't know, it's a very different looking game, and I think it's not
Yeah.
going to appeal initially to a lot of people. I've read a little bit about like what this game is trying to do and how it kind of like ties into itself and affects characters over time. It's got some really interesting ideas. I think it's something you're just going to have to be willing to give a chance to.
I just think that it just doesn't reach out to like
It's not going to be a
the
mainstream.
popular
Yeah.
gamer. Yeah.
Like most people are going to look at this, they're not going to see shooty guns, and they're going to be like, "Yeah, no, it's not for
Hmm.
me." When
I think
that's
that's the
fair.
problem. Is a lot of people were wanting like some new RPG, crazy 100-hour experience. You know what I mean? Somebody. That's what people were looking forward to.
Um, Expectations and whatnot. I think it looks neat. I honestly don't know if I'll get into it or not, just because I know it is going to take some time, I think, to kind of understand what this
Oh,
game
I'm
is
gonna
all
play
about.
it.
But
I think it actually looks interesting. It looks very like you make decisions and based on your
mhm.
decisions, the gameplay, the game operates differently. I don't know. It looks totally crazy and wacky. I'm definitely down for it.
Go.
So before we get to the one you were wanting to talk about, there's just I guess just Grounded finally got a full release. That's in
Mm.
September, which I feel like you would like the game, but again, I played that with our buddy Kyle and I don't know. It was fun and pre and you know in early access. We finished the game's main campaign in like 45 minutes
But that wasn't
because
really the main campaign. That was the first
I'm saying
snippet of.
of the early access we
Right.
did. So we were like, oh, is this kind of it? So I'm kind of interested to like go back and actually like experience the game as it was meant to be, or
Yeah,
however.
I'm not real big on playing games in early access because they're not finished.
Yeah.
Unless, I don't know. I feel like a lot of games, unless there's a reason to like grow with the development process, I'd rather play the game when they're done. Their vision's intact. They've added the features they want, and I don't want to say I'm wasting my time playing it early. Some people are
We should
really very
play it
much into it.
if we can get our buddy and back into it. To maybe might be fun.
Yeah, no, I'm down for that. I love Honey I
Mhm.
Shrunk the Kids, so why not?
That's basically it. It was really fun what we played. It's just there wasn't a heck of a whole lot of content,
Yeah.
which was, I guess, kind of expected. But yeah, so we'll move on to honestly, I felt like this was. I'm trying to remember. I think this was honestly my second favorite. It's not it was an announcement because it was already announced, but I felt like this was the second presentation I enjoyed the most was which I actually wasn't expecting. This is Diablo 4. Um so yeah, I'll let you go on. You've been kind of wanting to move on to this one.
Well, I
What'd you
mean,
think?
it looks cool. I mean, I've enjoyed Diablo games. I mean, my wife is the one who's like super into them, but I've always enjoyed them.
Mhm.
Maybe not to the super hardcore level that some others have, but I mean, this one looks fun. The open world nature of it, the class system. I don't know. Everything about it, I think, from a gameplay standpoint, looks good. Graphically, it's definitely going with that darker tone, which I personally, I liked the cartoony, over the top kind of styling of Diablo 3, but I'm not against this either. I mean, it's intense, so I'm for it. I think my biggest thing is coming off of Diablo Immortal. Like, how do you think?
How is it going to be monetized? Is that your
Well, I'm
first
not
thought?
even sure. I mean, I don't know. They're acting, for what I can tell, like it's not going to follow that model at all. There'll be some level of monetization, of course. I mean, Diablo 3 has some monetization to a certain extent. Um,
Then you
but
don't want auction house in this game?
no, and I don't think they're going to go auction house. I guess my point
Okay.
is, I am actually relatively confident. Maybe I shouldn't be, that this might be pretty solid on its own. Like, I'm hoping they don't do any egregious microtransactions. I'm hoping they learned a little bit from Immortal. I guess my big question mark is, because Immortal has left such a sour taste in the mouths of so many, core gamers now. Is that going to affect this game at all? Like, whether it be sales or just, expectations of it, or people going to boycott it just because they're all mad at
I
Blizzard?
still don't think Blizzard has lost their touch when it comes to Diablo. Like every game is still fun. It's just, yeah, how is it monetized? How egregious is it?
Well, people are
Um,
they're not putting up with it like they used to. I mean, I
yeah.
know it's still, not the majority of people who are making a huge fuss about it. And there's plenty of people that will still buy this game and not look past the fact that, oh, it's just a new game by Blizzard. They're not going to think about, oh, well, Immortal was this money gouging, scheme. But I think it's definitely a bigger issue than it used to be, and it's definitely got more prevalence now. With you got countries now in other regions looking at Immortal, being like, we're not even gonna let your game into the region because it's so basically gambling structured at this point. So
Mhm.
I'm just curious, now that it's gotten to that level of scrutiny and people are so on edge about stuff like that. Will that affect sales for this? And Blizzard, just in general, I mean, Activision Blizzard, as a whole, has just not been a favorable position from a public standpoint. So, will any of that, do you think, affect Diablo 4's success?
Um, I think it all comes down to like maybe you won't be able to tell with that in terms of this game because Microsoft hasn't like officially owned Activision Blizzard yet, but I think I'd be more interested in how that occurs after this game comes out. Because I have a feeling Microsoft probably isn't going to have any say as to like, well, right? I mean, that purchase hasn't gone through, so I don't think they have any say as to like
Yeah,
how this game is going to operate. I mean,
yeah, I don't think so. Well, at least
I think
they shouldn't.
after this game, I would think. Well, I don't want to even say that. It's just whenever that acquisition finally goes through, we can finally start to like look at Microsoft and say, okay, how are you going to handle Activision Blizzard? How are you going
But
to
regardless of that, because I mean that's still a
curtail any of
ways
that?
off. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know the exact timing on it, but let's assume that's not even something we're considered. I mean, with how Activision and Blizzard is looked at right now, especially coming off the heels of Immortal, if this game released into this year, which I know it's not, it's coming out what, next year or something like that.
2023. They didn't give a date on it.
But
I
still,
think
relatively
that's why they didn't
soon.
give a date on it is because the whole Microsoft thing is still looming over them. So I don't know.
I don't know. But my point is, with that being said, ignoring the Microsoft takeover, is any of that we just talked about going to affect Diablo 4 from a sales perspective?
I think it will. I think it will initially. Like I still feel like Diablo is a big enough name where if the game comes out and they don't have any issues like that, maybe they can kind of make up for it. But definitely to start off with, I think it'll hurt. But maybe that's most important though because it's all about how you start. Just I don't
Mm.
know. It's a tough. I think it's a tough question to answer.
I tell you,
I
I
think
don't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it will affect sales to start. I think
I
no doubt
don't.
about it.
I
You
don't.
don't?
No, here's the thing. Well, okay. Assuming that when Diablo 4 comes out, it is not this dumpster fire. Like, it doesn't have egregious microtransactions. It doesn't have some weird, money house, auction house thing happening. It's just a good, solid Diablo game. People aren't going to care. I'll tell you, we've seen it time and time again. Gamers will get all up in arms about, oh, they're, set up this terrible economy, or the past few games have been terrible. We're going to boycott the next game. Then the next game comes out, it's good, they all buy it. I always remember when everybody boycotted, which Call of Duty was it? Was it I don't know if it's one of the Black Ops or Infinite
Um,
Warfare, but people were just like up in arms, like
I don't remember.
There was a whole like Steam group, like we are boycotting this Call of Duty. Nobody's gonna play it. Blah 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 blah. And then like in that banned group on Steam, the day it came out, 90% of the names on there were all playing the brand new Call of Duty day one, because people don't
Yeah.
care. They want to play a game, and if the game is good at its core, unless there's some big barrier to them, feeling, either morally against playing it that first time or whatever it may be, they're still going to play the game. And here's the thing: Diablo 4, looking at it, it looks good.
It looks good.
Unless they bungle it like
Unless they do.
major, which they could. I mean, Blizzard's track as of late has been pretty rocky, so I will be honest there. But I'm going to go with the assumption that they're going to release Diablo 4. It's not going to have some major issues. Will it have some microtransactions and monetization? Sure. I don't think they'll be egregious to the level of Immortal. I'm hoping they've learned their lesson there. And they're also, I mean, this is a different type of game. They're trying to market it differently, sell it differently, so I don't think they're going for that same model. People might be up in arms about it and boycott it for a day or two, but if this thing starts popping up with reviews of 8, 9, 10s, who knows, people are going to buy it, and they're going to play it, and they're going to enjoy it, and Blizzard's going to make a buttload of money. So I don't know. I think unless there's just some big issue with the game, people are going to play it.
I did think it was interesting how this, screen right here, how there's almost no. I think this is because of the acquisition.
I
Like,
don't think it's the acquisition.
Well, they don't say if it's coming to PlayStation 4. It just says Xbox console. So I'm assuming it's either going to be a timed exclusive
no,
or an outright exclusive.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. Maybe. I'm not saying that isn't the case. If you look back on any of the games that they displayed during this Bethesda Xbox showcase,
But they don't even have if it's on Game Pass. There's normally a Game Pass symbol.
Well,
so
I don't think it's going to be on Game Pass. But I get my point being is because this is a Xbox specific showcase, none of these games, regardless of like some of these games are known to be multi-platform, they still don't list PlayStation.
They don't list it.
Yeah, their goal is not to advertise the competitors right now. I mean, this is not saying exclusive on Xbox, exclusive on PC. It's just saying, hey, this game will be available on Xbox consoles and PC. And then
Maybe I'm looking too far into it. I don't know. I thought it would.
No, and that's just, I mean, that's marketing or advertising. They want you to associate Diablo 4 with the Xbox name right now. So that's, I think, what this is about. I don't think that's necessarily about acquisition or anything. I think there's not a specific date because it's still in development, and this is a big game. So, I mean, I think they are wanting to make sure they release it in a time frame and on a date that they know they're going to hit. I mean, we've seen Starfield get delayed already, and I don't think Diablo wants to say, hey, we're going to be out January 1st, and then that date comes and like, oh, we need a couple more months. So that's my personal take on it. I don't think it's has anything to do with the acquisition. The Game Pass, maybe. I don't know if this will come to Game Pass. I don't know. I mean, I think if Microsoft gets full acquisition over them, maybe. But this is coming out, I think, before the acquisition is going to really happen. And I don't think...
Because I think if Microsoft owned it today, it would be on Game Pass when it comes out.
Probably. And I said, I don't think that deal is going through until mid next year. I think by then this game will already be released. So I think Blizzard's going to use that opportunity to make as much bank off this game as possible during that that initial window. I think it will probably end up on Game Pass eventually, but probably not a day one launch unless, all of a sudden that switches around and the deal goes through quicker and then they, throw it on the service. But I'm not feeling Game Pass yet, but could be wrong.
Fair enough. All right, so I guess moving on again to just the last couple ones that to me really stuck out. Another one that kind of did was this game, or I don't know, you kind of see that right there. So this game is made by the lead gameplay designer who made Inside and Limbo, both two games that me and you very much enjoy. I would say at least. I know you're you're a little more indifferent on Inside. I loved both Limbo and Inside, but I know you're more of a Limbo fan.
Yeah.
But this game just looked kind of interesting. It's a game called Cocoon, and I don't know, looks like a weird art style. I definitely think it has like a gameplay element that I don't know if I've ever seen. Have you? This whole being able to go into different dimensions or something. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like nesting kind of
Yeah.
Inception-y kind of stuff.
Yeah, that at least definitely looks like a new type of gameplay. Maybe not new type, but like I've never
It's an interesting
seen something like
mechanic.
that. It's an interesting mechanic, and
Yeah, this is a
you
fun
know,
like vibey kind of game. I'd probably check it
yeah,
out. I do some of these
sometimes a
games
new
though.
mechanic. Or good.
No, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say sometimes a new mechanic is all you need to get someone interested. I
Yeah,
want to try it out.
I'll
Good.
tell you. I mean, and I'll have to play it to see. Because what got me through Limbo and Inside is that narrative kind of weird.
What was happening?
Yeah, like that's what kind of pulled me through. Like the gameplay was, good for the most part, like puzzly stuff. So that dragged me through. This game has a very different feel, and it seems like it's got some weird element with this whole final cocoon level they're showing off. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm a little worried. I'm gonna start playing this game, and I'll vibe
Get
with it
bored.
for a little. I don't know if boards it, but with games like this, I play it long enough. I'm like, okay, that was fun. I was satisfied, and then I stop. To me, Tunic was kind of like that.
I was just gonna say Tunic was like that, where like I mean, granted I stopped because I sucked, but I also was just like, okay, I got this game. I don't know.
And it's not that I dislike Tunic, and part of me wants to go back and play it, and part of it's just I have to gauge my time differently now. I got other things I need to do in life, so I decide, okay, am I going to get more enjoyment continuing this game right now, or am I satisfied? And something like Tunic, I kind of checked off that box early. I feel like I got the core of what the game was, and I was happy with it. I feel like a game like this, I'll probably end up in the same kind of boat after a while, unless the gameplay drastically changes. But we'll see. I said what got me through Limbo and Inside wasn't the gameplay, although that was fun. It was the weird, okay, what's about to happen, and that's narrative games pull me along differently than any of these other styles do at this point. So.
All right, so another one that I thought was kind of interesting was this game called Wolong Fallen Dynasty, made by Team Ninja. I initially was excited because I thought it was Onimusha or Ninja Gaiden, which I thought, but it turns out it's a new IP, which nothing wrong with that. I was excited until I found out it is a Souls-like. So
Just get good, Chaz. That's all you gotta do.
I'll try. I'm willing to give the games
You
a
still haven't
shot.
gone back and tried Elden Ring again, so you know.
I actually had people. I have people who have said they want me to go back and play it, and I'm like, maybe someday, maybe this year, I'll go back and give it another try.
Nah, you
I'm
won't.
gonna get a guide though.
I
If
don't
I
believe
do.
you. I feel like a guy would
Um,
ruin that game. I don't know. But I'm sorry, I'm getting off track.
I'm not willing to go through all the headache though. Um, so another cool thing is we mentioned it in the Nintendo thing, which I guess the Nintendo thing kind of makes this less special now. But Microsoft announced that they're going to be they're releasing two Game Pass, Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and then Persona 5 Royale.
I think.
Which
I'm sorry. I'll hold my point. Say what you're gonna say.
no, I was just gonna say that's the three main ones, right? I mean, the old ones are on like far older
They're
consoles.
older. I think 3 is when it really kind of shifted like styles.
To whatever style it is.
Yeah, to kind of this high school romp kind of thing. The older ones, and I never played the originals. But I know they were a different tone, different
I
kind
know
of
the
focus.
old ones are like very serious, like RPGs, kind of. I think.
Yeah,
I could be
these got
wrong.
a little more high school melodrama anime-ish,
Mhm.
which I mean, I think is kind of where they found their sweet spot. I guess what I was gonna say is you said that this isn't as special, but honestly, I think it's nice having these two different ways now to play because it's appealing to two different people. Like for those
Handheld and Game Pass.
well, it's not even just handheld. Here's the thing, like most, like, how do I want to say this? For those who just want to play these games on the cheapest possible way, Game Pass is a godsend, right? Because now you're getting
Yes,
three
absolutely.
games, and some of these games are very expensive. Like Persona 4, like the golden version, I think the only physical way to play that I think is on the Vita, and that's kind of hard to find now.
I have it on 360, but I think it's not.
No,
Oh,
you
no, I
have the
Arena.
fighting game, yeah.
I have Arena.
Yeah, they didn't release it on 360. I'm pretty sure Persona 4 was initially a PS2 game, but it wasn't golden. I think Vita is the only golden, and then they had it on PC. So this is probably one of your cheapest ways to get a hold of that and play it. And Persona 3, I think, pretty similar. But I tell you, from a physical collection standpoint, I think people are really going to like the Switch versions because, I mean, the portable aspect of it, I don't know. I think people like to collect for the Switch more, I think, than the Xbox. I don't know, just the style of game, I think, is going to really kind of fit that nature of that console a little better. So I think it's nice to see that you have these two different options now to play. You have the free, easy access option, and then you've kind of got the long-term preservation collector's version for
Yeah.
portability. So, I don't know. I
I
think it's
thought
going to
that
serve these crowds well.
a point someone made that I didn't know, but is super interesting, is that like considering this is coming to Game Pass, I think what's his name? Oh, Blessing at AOA Junior, who's with the Kind of Funny crew. He said that like for essentially no extra price other than your Game Pass subscription, these three games alone, you're getting like over 1,000, almost 1,000 hours worth of game,
It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I
which
don't
is
know if
crazy
it's.
how long some of these games are. But,
I think 1,000 might be stretching it.
might be
I don't know the
stretching it.
time frames of 4 and 3. Rural, I know, is 150 hours or so. So if you say that for all
Probably more
three
like
of them,
500.
I think what people are thinking, if you want to see everything and you try to do multiple playthroughs, then sure. But
Which even
most
500
people,
hours for 3 games is like
yeah, no, this is
crazy.
a big amount of content, and these are all good games. I think appeal to a broader audience than definitely they used to. The Persona series has been growing a lot over the past few years, so this was a great pool. I mean, I know that yes, you're right. Switch getting it steals a little bit of Xbox's thunder, but the fact it's on Game Pass really adds to it. I think it softens the blow that stuff like Starfield isn't hitting immediately. So
Well, if you think about it, if you go out and you get a Steam Deck, can you access the Xbox Game Pass through Steam Deck?
you can. I know that's a weird workaround. I'm not sure exactly how well it works. I don't know. I haven't watched a whole lot of tech videos on it, so I can't really speak.
You could play it that way. If you
Yeah.
got a Steam Deck and you get Game Pass on there.
Well, here's the thing too, and I don't know if these are gonna. Go back just a little bit. Did it say if these are gonna be on cloud or not? Yep, right there, PC cloud.
Yeah.
So you could play all three of these on your phone, and honestly, these would be really good phone games.
Because they're not like super activity driven action.
Like they're turn based, but in a different way. They're definitely games that you don't have to have Twitch responses with. So honestly, that would be great to play on your phone or something like that. Like I didn't even realize that. I'm more excited about it now because I can play this on the go.
Interesting.
And honestly, that makes the Switch. I mean, the Switch is still great from a physical collection standpoint, but if I could play this on my phone, then have my progress transferred to my Xbox when I get home, and I don't know, that's a pretty good deal, man.
Yeah.
I'm digging that.
All right. So yeah, I'm definitely interested. We'll see. We'll see when they come out. I definitely want to stream at least. I know Persona 5.
Start with
People have
5.
been talking about that. People have been talking a lot about that game.
Yeah, here's the thing. These don't, like, from my understanding, you don't have to play, like, 3, then 4, then 5. They're all pretty self-contained, although there are themes that play through all of them. I think, just for me, 5, I think it hits a little harder, but I don't know.
Fair
You
enough.
do you.
All right. Another thing, there was a big announcement that Phil Spencer had, and that is that Microsoft has finally partnered up with Kojima for a game. They were kept it very close to the vest exactly what's going on
We
here.
won't see this for 6 years, man.
They didn't say whether it was an Xbox exclusive, if Sony's gonna get it, what.
What's kind of funny about this is they made this big thing. All the games you hear and talk about are all going to be out this year. I know they didn't say this game, but
This is the only one that was like,
yeah, this
you'll
is
never
not
see
coming.
it.
Well, you got to think because Kojima's working on, I think it's pretty much official, Death Stranding 2. So that's probably his current project. That's going to be a couple more years probably. And then this is going to happen after that. I mean, I don't know how big a studio is at this point, but we're not seeing this for a long time.
I hate to say it, I'm kind of excited, but not really. I don't know. I'm more of a Metal Gear fan, so if he announced he was bringing Metal Gear to Xbox, I would have been like, woohoo! But I don't know. Just on the whole, I was just like, okay, we'll wait until we get more info.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a horror game, I think is what everybody's kind of going on, which I know that ticks some of your boxes a little more. For me, a little less so, but we'll see. We'll find
Fair
out
enough.
when we're 60 what game it is.
All right, we'll get to the last game that was announced, or not announced, but finally got to show off some gameplay of Starfield, and they showed a lot. And I'll be
I'm not going to
honest,
say a lot.
I feel like they showed a lot, but I initially was worried when this trailer started because I mean they started it, and of course you had Todd Howard come on stage and talk about it. But when they first started the trailer, that whole opening section, this section right here, looked bad. I think the combat looks bad. It just looks. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it looks very Bethesda-y,
Hmm.
which I don't know why I was expecting anything more, but
Yeah, that's the thing. Like people, and to be fair, I mean, this is what hype does to a game. People need to understand who is making this game. This is Bethesda. Every game
hmm
they put out that I can recall, especially in this style, the combat's been not the primary thing about the game. Like I can't think
yeah,
about any Elder Scrolls game where I'm like, man, that combat was sweet. Fallout games, serviceable at best. Like these games are
it is
always
what I
about the
expected.
world and the
hmm
exploration. So the combat looks serviceable. It does not look, super innovative or mind blowing or anything like that. But
No,
that's not what I expected. So I'm cool with that so far.
yeah, fair enough. Well, I don't want to say I'm cool with that because at first I was like, well, because I didn't know there were so many other elements of the game. At first I was like, oh, is this mainly what we're going to be doing? But then of course they branch out. They talked about how it's a lot of Bethesda like political based stuff. There's a lot of dialogue. I'm still kind of curious. Is this gonna have some of the older Bethesda games dialogue option trees, or is this gonna have Fallout 4's
I don't know.
dialogue option trees and event and cause and effect like
Yeah, we didn't
super
see that, did
basic? You know
we?
what I mean? No. So I don't
How do
know.
you
I
feel
would.
about the comparison? This is pretty much just No Man's Skyrim.
I don't think that's a fair comparison because
Think about the
I
gameplay
mean,
they've
No Man's
shown,
Sky.
man. Like, you go to these planets, you harvest stuff, you build your ship, you fly off, you go to another planet, you repeat the process. Like, there's definitely
Yeah,
some No
but
Man's Sky stuff, and
I I think it would be troubling if there's nothing to do on these other planets. If there are actual side quests, if there are actual like other plot elements, if there are actual RPG stuff going on other planets, I won't care about that. But like you said, if it comes down to all these other thousands of planets that they said you can go to, if it comes down to it that those are actually like pretty empty and they're all procedurally generated with not much to do, then yes, I think it's going to be a problem.
yeah,
Because I'm expecting like full on RPG-ness. Like every planet you get to go to, maybe there's a different civilization, maybe there's other quest givers. I know that's hard to expect
gauge your
from
expectations, man.
yeah.
I'll tell you, here's the thing. I'm mostly on board with this game. I'm not overly negative with it because I didn't have super high expectations of this to begin with. This is about what I thought it was going to be. Like the No Man's Skyrim thing, I know sounds like a dig, but honestly, that's fine with me. Like I haven't played No Man's Sky, but I like
I've
the
actually been
general.
wanting to play it now that this is coming out.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the general concept of that kind of thing, and having you're right the Bethesda style RPG elements to it. I'm game for that. So you have some quest givers, you
I
go
am.
do some cool little side stories. Like I said, I liked Fallout 4. A lot of people didn't, but I was game for stuff like that. I like Fallout 3.
I thought it was just okay.
But I
I
mean,
wasn't
if
like
that's
blown away.
the level of stuff we're gonna get on this, just in space, for the most part, I'm cool with that. I am still really um, well, I don't know what's the word I want to say. I don't want to say hesitant or nervous, but maybe I
Indifferent.
am. Well, no, I mean, maybe I am nervous about it. 1,000 planets. Like, they can't be all curated by the developer. And I think they said as much. These are procedural to a certain extent. I
Mm,
mean,
can we get three-fourths of those to have
okay,
interesting things?
I'm gonna try to just like scale back for just a second.
Can we get half of them to
Well, no,
be
no.
interesting?
Let me do this thought experiment with me for just a minute. I know this is a next gen ish game, but let's think about Fallout 4. Do you think there were 1,000 quests in that game?
No.
Okay, I mean, and I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, there's a lot in Fallout 4 that I know
There
I
may
didn't
have
even
been like
touch.
100, 150,
I
200.
think there are more than that. I mean, I think there's probably several hundred. 1,000 probably reaching. So imagine if there, even say there were 1,000 quests in Fallout 4. So that means if you expounded that and kind of placed it into this game, that's
hmm
one quest per world. How do you feel about that? And that's, I think, best case scenario. beyond being like the kind of procedural type quests of like, go here and kill X amount of these things, collect so many of that stuff, kill enemies over here. Like unique quests on each planet at the scale of 1,000 planets, and having more than just one thing there, man, like
Yeah.
to me that sound. I mean, honestly, even if the game's not great, if they do somehow just make it to the point where these planets have more than a couple of unique things, that's an achievement right there. Like even if they're not
Yeah.
great, if there are 3 to 4 unique things to do on most of these planets, hats off to them.
Do you think it could be like the opposite of the Mass Effect thing, where like Mass Effect was able to get across discovering and exploration and all that stuff, while also for the most part giving you fairly linear, or not except for the first one. The first one was a little more open,
Well, I
but
don't
like
think any of the Mass Effects really ever hit real well on that either. I mean, 2 and 3, you scan planets. You don't really get to explore stuff. Like the scope of the galaxy, especially if you're not doing the resource management stuff, was fairly limited. I mean, there were some stuff you could do, but I don't know. No game has really ever reached that kind of scale and it felt curated. Like it's procedural, or it's kind of just repeating the same type of task at each place. And I get why they do that. It adds scope to the game, but I would rather say, okay, I want 100 planets. 100 planets where every one of them has 10 really good missions on it. I'd be far more into that, and that would still be a huge game. Like having 1,000, I don't know. Like I know this is the concern that everybody's feeling. Like what does that add to the game to say I've got 1,000 planets if there's nothing cool to do on each one of them? Like what's the point? And I'm getting a little more negative. I didn't even feel this way before I started this conversation, but the more I think about that, the more nervous I get about it. There's stuff I'm going to like about this game, and I'm sure they are going to have a handful of really cool missions and cool worlds.
Well,
like
now that I think about it, another problem they might have is that. So let's say you visit that 1,000 planets, and you put in the 300 hours it takes to see everything in the game, and then you get to whatever this mystery is of the universe, center of the universe, and it's a peanut. You know what I mean? Like is that gonna like they also have to deliver something interesting at the end?
Well,
I
here's the thing.
mean?
I don't think that's the focus of this game, and I could be wrong. Like I know that was the focus of No Man's Sky, get to the center of the universe.
No, they showed that was the whole.
That's the goal of this game.
That's the goal of this game, is to see what's out there.
Oh, okay, see what's out there, but that doesn't mean find the center of the universe. Like that could be a more narrative-driven thing. Like I have a feeling, knowing Bethesda, it's going to be heavily narrative. Like No Man's Sky, very little narrative. It is all just about exploration till you get to this position to find the center of the universe. I don't think that's what they're going to do here. I think there will be a narrative that pulls you a direction, because I know Todd Howard also said, okay, we got 1,000 planets, but you don't have to go to them. And that, once again, is another kind of red flag to me. So I don't have to go to these 1,000 planets. And
So I'm not missing out on anything.
not missing out. And you got to think about this from a developer standpoint. They have to know that the majority of the people playing this game will not go to all 1,000 planets. Honestly, though, most people are going to go to the major ones, right? So say there's 1/10 of those planets, if that, you have to go to. That's where the majority of their development effort is going to be. The locations and places that they can almost guarantee the majority of players are going to visit. The other 800 planets, I mean, how much development time can they have? Especially hearing some of the stories about this game already, that this could be the next Cyberpunk, I think is what one of the developers said in some kind of
Let's say they
anonymous
do a
interview.
good job of directing you to the interesting 100 planets. Is I don't know, would that be worth it if you just kind of know, oh wait, so these group of planets.
And I think so. Like I'm not trying to say, I know I'm coming across real
You
negative.
can go to the other 800 or 900 planets if you want, but there may not be much. But your directive planets, like those are going to have your quests and all that stuff.
As long as the core gameplay is good, and the main narrative and the stuff that drags you along through is still of good quality and feels unique and curated, then I'm going to be okay with it. I mean, I think it's going to be a bit of a disappointment that you have 800 planets that may not have a whole lot on it, but I mean that's not going to, I think, hurt my initial opinion of the game too much, as long as the core game is still fun. I'm just trying to get the point across that I am really hesitant, or I'm not very optimistic that they can really make 1,000 planets and make it worth it. And I'm trying to think what the rationale for making 1,000 planets, visitable, even worth it. Like, why'd they do that? Why would they waste development? I don't know. I'm going way off on a tangent now. I'm sorry, and I don't know anything.
It's because Todd Howard is super sweet, man.
Oh shit. Well, I guess my point is, especially coming from Fallout 76, where they missed the mark, right? They clearly went off in a direction that didn't quite hit with the core audience. You would think that now, okay, they'd want to go ahead and make a very focused experience that is going to be quality through and through. And I'm having a hard time understanding about how making 1,000 planets is going to be able to meet that design focus. Not saying that is their design focus, but I would imagine it probably should be.
You just got to blindly believe in Todd Howard.
Which, no, you shouldn't. If you play any of his recent games, you shouldn't. I'm not saying the guy doesn't put out fun games still, but, he is slowly becoming the new Peter Molyneux, where he overhypes something to the extent of you need to have a lot of salt with whatever he says. So, I don't know. I am not against this game by any means. I am actually still relatively excited to play it, because I like these style of games at their core. But don't get your hopes up about having 1,000 unique planets to go visit. I think that's reaching a little bit.
I'm in the same boat. I'm like tentatively excited. I'm more curious, I would say, than excited. But I don't know. I think as long as they're able to deliver a good, normal Bethesda type experience and are able to fulfill some sort of wonder with the universe, I'll be happy.
Like, a lot of people are getting on them too, just because they, so far, for what we've seen, have a very muted color palette for something that's supposed to span the entire galaxy. I know, some of space is going to be, not the prettiest thing. It's going to have some desert planets and whatnot, but they haven't shown much as far as, there's some very colorful things that you could experience out there, and we're not seeing that. So that's a bit of a letdown, especially when you think of a game about No Man's Sky that's basically like a
super colorful.
Yeah, like watercolor explosion. So I don't know. Different focus though, so we'll see.
Yeah. Again, I don't feel like there's really a heck of a whole lot. I mean, it's got a lot of the Fallout based stuff, weapon modding. You've got your planet or your what's the word? Your campments, your camp.
Oh,
you can spread out and build and stuff.
There's something I was disappointed, and I was wondering this. I was watching the trailer, so they show your ship, taking off, and they show your ship in space, but they officially confirmed afterwards you don't actually fly off the planet, which is something No Man's Sky does. Which I don't know. That seemed like a pretty, to me, that's a cool thing. That was actually one of the cooler things about No Man's Sky, that you literally could just fly off the planet, go through space, and land somewhere else in this one seamless motion. And I know that their engine was developed for that, but I don't know. The fact that I don't know, I know it's not something that you have to have, but I would have really liked to see that small little piece of gameplay where I could.
You got some space combat though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It looks, but even that, it just kind of looks fine. I don't know.
I think my problem is the space combat to me looks very basic. I was actually hoping that is there cause and effect with space combat? If I attack a random ship, am I could I get in trouble with some trading route company, or am I gonna tick off a bandit group or space pirate group, or can I find a way to paralyze the ship, get on there and steal all of their stuff or kill all of them?
And probably not. Here's the thing: you have to think about past Bethesda games. Those little nuances, those details of gameplay, is not something they've really ever honed in on for their Fallout games or something like that.
It's heavy sci-fi stuff. That's heavy.
Well, not even sci-fi, but what you were saying with a faction being upset that you've attacked their ships. Like Bethesda on their like Fallout games, their faction stuff is really light. And I mean that can be
Mm-hmm.
fine. I'm not always looking for, that kind of cause and effect for every single decision I make. Some people are, but I think that's why a lot of people liked things like New Vegas so much. There was a lot of that cause and effect and, pulling back and forth between different factions. And I don't know, I'm just not confident that Bethesda is going to go ahead and deliver something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, can I land on this giant asteroid?
And I'm sure the answer is no. Like, I think that's what I'm starting to see is this is not feeling like this one seamless, immersive space adventure. It's going to be like you load into space, you have your space combat moment. You load onto the space station, it will go to a loading zone, now you're in the space station. You load onto a planet, which is fine. And I guess what I was saying earlier, like nothing about this is going to, blow your mind or be some new innovative experience. Like it's going to feel, I think, like a fairly standard Bethesda game for all its pros and cons, just in space. So take that for what it is.
Uh, there were some people that said some funny stuff I saw online. Like someone was like, "How long do you think it'll take before somebody makes a ship that looks like a penis?"
Oh, as soon as the game is launched.
There
But
was that, and then someone said, "Wouldn't it be kind of cool if like the science in the game because you can build your own ships? Wouldn't it be cool if you can build something that's like totally not aeronautical or
well, of
that's like
course you can.
that like functionally doesn't work and will blow up once you take off?"
Oh, like from a technical standpoint, oh man,
Yeah,
I don't think they'll let you do that. I don't think
that'd be
they'll.
cool.
It'd be cool, but I think they'll have some limitations in the builder. It'll be just like when you could build camps and stuff in Fallout and all that. Like it'll be locked in a very confined kind of
Like if you build a ship
builder.
without thrusters, like how does it
Yeah,
take off?
I don't know.
I
We'll
don't
see. I don't know, and I'm not trying to come down really hard. I know I'm sounding really negative on this game, and I'll tell you, going into this podcast, I was actually pretty positive about this game, but I do think you gotta gauge your expectations. I think this will be, at its core, a good, fun game. It's gonna be like an
I'm
8
in
out of
the
10,
same
I think,
boat.
for most people.
I'm in
It's
the
not
same
gonna
boat.
be the
Yeah.
10 out of 10 people are expecting, but that's okay. It doesn't really need to be, and I think if people can go into it just understanding, it's a Bethesda game. Keep that in mind through and through. You'll have some fun with this, but don't expect the
Mhm.
world or a
I
thousand
agree.
worlds.
Yeah. All right, so we're kind of running a little bit long, but I think that's our overall thoughts
Giggity.
on. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I guess I kind of just had one question I thought I wanted to throw out. Oh, we forgot to talk about our. Oh man, I totally forgot to bring up our predictions.
Oh, I don't think we really need to. I
No,
mean,
there's
we
nothing
kind of
for.
hit on that before. They didn't talk about anything that wasn't coming out this year, and a lot of our predictions were kind of those.
Wait,
Hmm?
I'll just bring up some notable titles. Yeah, they didn't bring up a lot. I mean, we didn't get the Indiana Jones game that's been referenced. We didn't see Perfect Dark, Data Decay 3, no Fable, no Avowed, Outer Worlds 2. We didn't see anything about Gears, Hellblade, Everwild.
Which is all fine. It's stuff that's not coming out this year, which is okay. And here's the thing:
Mm,
some of these games, honestly, I think are going to fit better end of next year. Like they've announced a lot for this year. Yes, I know they're still missing like their big flagship, end of year title, but I think they've got enough to get them through. I think next year you'll start seeing the Gear 6 and the Fable and stuff like that. That then the ball just starts rolling. I think they'll be in pretty good
mhm,
shape. So I don't know. I'm not, worried about where they're at. I think Xbox is doing the right move by focusing on what they have readily available that's going to come out this year. And, they gave us, there's a lot there. There's a lot they announced. Honestly, I think there's more in some aspects than I've seen than Nintendo's displayed or PlayStation. Granted, I know PlayStation still has exclusive that people are excited about, but there's a lot here for core gamers. So.
mm. So I just had one more question, just super quick. I just kind of want to throw it out there. Who do you think won not E3 this year?
I'm gonna say Xbox only because neither of the other two publishers talked about any first party anything. Like Sony didn't.
Wow, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's basically true. Sony or
Sony they
Nintendo.
needed to mention God of War. I'm still surprised and a little hesitant they haven't mentioned God of War.
There's a
Um,
rumored July state of play, but I think a lot of people think it's going to be
and
just God
maybe
of War
they
related.
may have wanted their own space to separate themselves from all the other games. I get that. I think that's the whole reason why a lot of these developers aren't don't care about E3 anymore. They're like, yeah, let's give everybody room so each game can kind of breathe and get its recognition. So maybe that's what they're doing. But I mean, if you're trying to wager which one of these did the best, it's the one who showed the most first-party stuff, and that was Xbox. Nintendo didn't release anything about a Zelda or Mario or really anything. Metroid. So not that I didn't say some cool stuff about games that are in the pipeline, but not the big stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think Xbox, I don't want to say leaps and bounds, but I thought they were the only ones that put forth like an E3 like showing.
Yeah.
If that's any sort of positive.
Now, I guess here's the thing to think about now. Xbox has completely shown their hand for the rest of the year, pretty much. Like, there's nothing really super exciting that they could announce, I don't think. I mean, that would come out of left field. I mean, unless
they pull something forward.
Yeah, which I think would be probably a little odd right now. I think if they had something big, they probably would have already done it. So I think very much Sony or Nintendo could steal their thunder. Sony's probably in the best position to do that. If they do come out in July and they're like, all right, God of War coming out in November, blah, 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 that's going to do really well for them. Even though that's, it's one game, that's a big game for a lot of people.
I agree.
Nintendo, though, besides Pokemon, I don't think they really have a lot coming out this year. No way Metroid's coming out anytime this year. And Zelda, they already said, is next year. So they've got Pokemon, which is fine. They've got plenty of stuff with just that. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at with all three.
Well, fair enough. So yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up everything we had going for this week. I mean, what do you have going on planned for this upcoming week? You playing anything, watching anything? You want to try and get Stranger Things in for the next show?
I will probably start watching Stranger Things. The other thing I know I've been trying to finally watch is Doctor Strange. But I don't know. Maybe I'll squeeze that in.
Let me know whatever you decide to watch, so I'll try and do the same.
Yeah, it'll probably be after Stranger Things, and honestly, it'll probably take all weekend to hopefully get through Stranger Things, so that'll be what I focus on.
Only 2 episodes, but I think they're total like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's going to take some time, and I got to schedule with my wife, so we got a busy weekend, so we shall see, but that's no games that I know of. Maybe I'll hop down and play something. I've actually wanted to sit down and play more of the new Stanley Parable Deluxe. Have you played any of that?
Mm-mm.
You should.
I've been playing a new game, which, I mean, people probably see my streams, but I think I should be able to finish that before the next episode, so I'll talk about that game on the next one. Okay. But yeah, so I'm in the same boat, so I'll probably watch those same things you're trying to watch, and maybe we'll talk about it on the next one.
Sounds good.
Well, man, I think that's just about it. Well, Phoenix, I guess real quick, I'll just say, like normal, I think on screen you have... my brain's kaput. I was going to say the audio versions, but I forget you already have them somewhere up there.
Oh, yeah. We got podcasts over there. We got social medias over here. So, huzzah. Go subscribe. Get us up to 3 subscribers. Come on.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap up everything we've got for this week. Definitely look forward to next week. We'll see. I mean, I feel like other than these events, there hasn't been much news coming out of the gaming sphere. There's been a couple topics that I have been wanting to broach with you, but we'll see. Maybe I'll bring them up on the next episode. So, anyways, I just want to say thank you so much for joining, Phoenix.
You're welcome. Anytime that you let me out of the basement.
All right, back down there. I'll have to kick you. Take the broomstick out and push you down in there. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching or listening. We'll see you on the next one. See you guys.
See ya.